Hey guys, it's Tricky. I forgot to tell Alex that Garrett had sent in a update to the trophy rarity, so I'm gonna plug it in before we actually start the show. Enjoy.
Welcome to another edition of the Rarity Update. Week 3 we are into. By now, most of you would have seen the updated league table on either the Discord group or the Trophy Looting Facebook group. Both the link now to the document is in there, as well as the pictures of each of the tables, which aren't the greatest to read, but use the link which is posted in there and pinned to both the Discord and the group. I'll try to keep it a bit briefer. It was 13 minutes long. I didn't realise it was going to be as long as that the first time I did it. I did send amended audio to both Daryl and Tricky, which was 7 minutes long, and I let them decide which one to use, and they opted for the 13-minute version. So apologies for having to listen to my voice for 13 minutes on last week's episode. So I'll try to keep it a bit briefer for you all. So I'll start with the league table. So we had 4 new entries last week come in. 3 of them have scored points. One of them hasn't, but has only just joined recently. So overall, the good news is that we are now out of negatives. Nobody is on minus points. We saw some big numbers this week. A few people jump up a lot of places. So I'll start with that as usual down the bottom. We have Darth Knight 82, who was one of the new entries. Didn't earn any trophies this week, but so he's on 0 points. He's had no movement on any of his others. Zach the Beard Nerd is obviously taking a break from his PlayStation. He hasn't moved, and he's also joined last on 0 points. Diego only joined the day before I took the updates, and he's moved on to 1 point. But I'm expecting Diego to shoot up those tables fairly rapidly based on what I see on Discord and other platforms. Next is Tross, who is he was one of the ones who did move out of negatives. He earned 6 points this week and has moved on to +1 point. Kalai did say she'd earned some uncommons and she wasn't wrong, so she's moved up onto 5 points with Neon Abyss. Seems to be the game that she's playing at the moment. And above her is one of the other new contestants, D3P4 Arted 57 Departed, I guess 570, and he is on 6 points, having played a bit of Last of Us Part 1. Tricky Mick, despite playing spam only, bar a bit of God of War Ragnarok, had letting his legacy trophies do the work for him. He is on 11 points, a 7-point increase this week. He's reduced his rarity from about 97%. He's now Spit Shine in God of War Ragnarok. So his rarest trophy of 2023 is an embarrassing 88.31%. Nothing rarer than 88.31%. I'll let you be the judge of that. Riley, the brain, there's a big gap actually. A semi-big gap, 16 points. So he's up at 27 points, playing a bit of Skyrim, 14-point increase this week. Stink Palm comes in ahead of Riley on 32 points, and he is tied with Homer Gets Duffed on 32. There's another fair jump up to Sadek. He's on 58 points and has been playing a bit of, not a game that I'm familiar with, but Grood, and his rarest trophy was Green Energy in that, which actually is his rarest that he's done of the year so far. MZ Nitro continues his plummet down the table, but I'm sure he'll start rising again once he starts playing again. But he was doing a bit of Mafia 2 and also earned his rarest trophy of the contest so far with Explorer, 12.81%. He's on 62 points. One of the big movers this week was Resident Daryl, who has been whoring it on Team Sonic Racing, which if you look at the trophy guide for that, or the trophies on PSN profiles, you will see that is a favourable game for this competition. So note that if you want to score points, he is on 74 points and increase of 59 points this week. Yield is one place ahead of Daryl, and he is up to on 94 points. Sorry, tell a lie, I'm making things up. Yield is on 78 points, sorry. And his rarest trophy was Jesse's Story in the Final Station. A game I've seen around, and I've been tempted to pick it up, but not bitten the bullet as of yet. I know it was free on on Game Pass once upon a time. JT, another big mover, a big 80 point, total points of 82, and he did 80 of them this week. Quite a few ultra rares in there, so he actually increased his ultra rare count by 6 trophies this week, playing against Team Sonic Racing. Mr. TMNT is above JT on 94 points with an increase of fairly steady week for Joe this week, 38 points with a bit of NHL 20 is his rarest. And then when we come into the players who have broken the 100-point barrier, so first one of those is CJ, and obviously he's just dished out 56 points this week, doing a bit of The Witcher 3, a game that I do want to get into at some point soon. In 8th is a new entry, and it's Corey, Grounded Gamer. Good total, really good, second biggest haul of the week, 111 points. So obviously that's his total because he's only joined this week. So one to watch out for sure if he's getting 111 points each week. Me Scoats a lot drops a couple of places, playing a bit of One Piece Burning Blood, 41 point increase this week, 115 overall. Marky Fraser's dropped out the top 3. He was leading after week 1, dropped down to 2 on week 2, and he's now down into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th place now on the leaderboard as of week 3. So he'll be looking to turn that round as soon as he can, and he's on the 144 points. So that's a little bit of a jump up from the place below, which is 115. There's another big jump, good 50 odd points. Alex Raise Havoc playing Biomutant, and again some good level of trophies, especially the rares. So he's actually had an increase of 50 rare trophies since in the 3 weeks that we've done this. So yeah, really impressive stats there with a 88 point weekly increase. I've been reeled in. Didn't score as well this week as I had done the previous ones. Still 47 points, not a bad week, but I'm only 2 points ahead of Alex, now in 3rd place at 199. In at 2, Redbeard Rick broke the 100-point weekly increase, and it gives him now a total of 217 points with a Tora is the name of the trophy in 60 seconds as his rarest one of the week. And number 1 on the leaderboard is Mark Duplex, Dupes25, on a whopping 288 points, a weekly increase of 245 points. Amazing effort that, albeit little caveat to that is that the game he's been playing a lot of, where a lot of his trophies have come from 16 ultra rares, mind you, which is more than everybody else put together, and probably double it again, in Persona 4 Golden. So I do feel, looking at the requirements on those trophies that are currently ultra rare, they will sort of drop in value over the weeks. I've noticed even just in the 18 hours before when I posted the table to looking at the trophy now that was rarest. It's gone from 0.33% to 1.25. So it's on the slide there. So he's obviously going to have to hope it doesn't drop too much. So with that in mind, so I'll put a little asterisk against that anyway, because that could be a false representation. I certainly hope so from my perspective anyway. And then on to the trophies. Again, we've got the top 5 rarest of the week and the top 5 rarest of the year so far. What I am going to be doing is, I mentioned it on the Facebook group, is limiting it to, so everybody is involved and can have the opportunity, is I'm limiting it to your rarest trophy as an individual. So you can only have one entry on each of those leaderboards. I didn't want somebody having the 5 rarest trophies and then they take up the whole leaderboard. I thought it was nice to have a mixture of every person being able to sort of get onto each of the one. So from the top 5 rarest trophies of the week, starting from 5th, is the Grounded Gamer with Surge Gauntlet Scholar in Arcadegeddon, 6.49%, and to do that was to unlock all primary Surge abilities. Not a game I've played. I've thought about it, not got into it though. At number 4, at 6.09%, is Redbeard Rick, Tora in 60 seconds, which was to ram 1,337 obstacles in your house. At 3, Resident Daryl with Starry Eyed in Team Sonic Racing, 5.95%, and that was to earn every star in Team Adventure Mode Chapter 2. But JT went one better with 4.13%, and again in Team Sonic Racing, that was earn every star in Team Adventure Mode completely. So he's obviously closer to the plat than Daryl on that one. And as I said, so Dupes is also top of this rarest trophies of the week with Moderate Bookkeeper, 0.33%. But as I said, that has increased already. And that was to register over 50% of the compendium. I expect that. So that is also the lowest value or rarest trophy that for the whole contest. As I said, I've put an asterisk against that because that will change over time. Whereas a lot of the other trophies that have been earned have been they've had years to evolve and to manifest. So you're more likely to have a truer reflection on those trophies than trophies on newer games. So the top 5 rarest trophies of 2023 so far, I am hanging on at number 5 with the Platinum in Star Wars Battlefront 2 at 4.23. JT with his one that he earned this week, Can You Feel the Sunshine in Team Sonic Racing. Marky Fraser still in 3rd place on that with I Believe in a Higher Power and Gems of War at 2.92%, which was reached Kingdom level 15 in 5 Kingdoms. Yield, I think this will be a temporary drop. It has dropped down to 2 with Pro Team Deep Rock Galactic at 1.15, and that was to earn silver promotions for all dwarves. And as I've said, the Moderate Bookkeeper that Dupes earned was 0.33% at the time of putting the stats out, and that was to register over 50% of the compendium. So that is what you've got to beat. So at least now we have 5 trophies that are all of ultra rare value. Now sat in the rarest trophies we've earned as a whole group in 2023. The trophies to drop out of that was this week were the Platinum Trophy that was earned by Rick in Fallout New Vegas, which was a 6.95% very rare, and Legend of Weird West by Alex in Weird West at 9.76%. So that is your update. Obviously, well, sorry, I couldn't keep it any briefer. It's another 14-minute one, so apologies for listening to me rambling on, but I will cut it now. But yeah, thank you for listening and taking your time to sort of take interest in the competition, and I'll keep doing it if you'll keep interested. Carry out. Cheers. Thank you. Bye.
You are listening to Trophy Horse.
556, and I feel like I owe everyone an apology at the start because I am very stuffy, and I sound like a Muppet. So unfortunately, you will have to deal with that through this entire episode because Tricky's at work, or I guess I should say in air quotes, work. But we're still going to have a great show for you all. Unfortunately, we do need to address some sad news before we get into the fun of PlayStation. We got some news today that a member of the Trophy Horrors extended family has passed away. Donnie, former host of the show, his stepfather, Bland Redding Sr., has passed away. So we do want to say that we're very sorry to hear that, Donnie. Our thoughts are with your family, and we just hope you guys are doing as best as you possibly can in such a tragic and awful time. Losing a family member, we know what's going to happen, but it doesn't make it any easier. So, Donnie, we were very sorry to hear that. So unfortunately, loss, but we have a great show for you guys planned. Otherwise, we have a first-time guest ever to help me to welcome our first-time guest. We have my long-time co-host, I Yield to No One.
What's going on, everybody?
And this guest, she doesn't have time for Tricky's BS. Because she has a much better Italian name than Tricky does. She is a broadcaster over on Twitch, and like any professional, she knows not to cross the streams unless you absolutely have to. It's Veronica.
Good evening, everybody.
So, like I said, this is Veronica's first time in the show, and we actually, you all may have heard or picked up on, Veronica's husband, Matt, has been on the show numerous times. He was with us last week. Glad to have Veronica on finally. And Veronica, I was talking to you this before the show, in that you've been offered to come on the show and just it never worked out, or, Tricky has some weird rule about you and Matt not being able to be on the show at the same time, but
we think it's a duel. If you have two people with the same amazing Italian last name, it just makes Tricky go a little crazy.
Because his last name is Miller?
Miller, yeah. And when you have two Granellis on one show together, it just makes his brain explode and everything just goes, and he just stops working.
Like a part of the universe explodes, like a paradox somewhere occurs, and we see a little bit of destruction. So I thought it was funny, though, that the episode, your inaugural episode, is when Tricky isn't actually here.
Yeah.
I just think he's
probably
afraid.
Probably because his brain popped.
I just think he's afraid to, because last week, he'll talk some smack to Matt. I just think that he's afraid to talk smack when Veronica's around. That's what I think it is.
A little bit, but I also think that, in all seriousness, as I'm getting more into PlayStation games and getting more into that. My background is more into PC gaming, into the Switch, Nintendo, and I am a VR person. I am that type of person that loves using the VR and everything. So coming in on this episode, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, I think is a good start for everything that's going on.
And Matt's told us a little bit about what you like to stream, because even Ashley, my girlfriend, she had mentioned, she had asked for your Twitch name, because she's like, oh yeah, it sounds like she plays some games that I would like to play. So we know a little bit about you from what Matt has said, but just kind of in your own words, introduce yourself and tell us what your history of games look like, what you like to play, what you like to stream, and if you want to, promote yourself and, give your Twitch name, more than happy to hear that.
Okay, well, as you guys know, my name is Veronica. I actually go by V, just the letter, or Gamer Veranza. It is a combination of my first, middle, and maiden name. So it was really nice of me to be able to keep a little bit of my life into my gaming life. I started out as strange enough, Fatal Frame on the PS2 was a game that really brought me into gaming. And it was, I think that kind of made my decisions on what type of games that I like throughout my career. And I've never really liked the Maddens or the Call of Duties or the GTAs or anything like that. And I've always gone down the weird routes, like Katamari, along those lines. I mean, always Final Fantasy, always Kingdom Hearts. So that's where that goes. But I'm more of a single player gamer instead of a multiplayer. The only multiplayers I've ever really done are MMORPGs, World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 2, recently New World on Amazon. So, but recently, a new game came out on the horrible system called the Nintendo Switch, and I've been playing that, which is Fire Emblem Engage. So that has been my newest obsession. I do stream, as I said, and it's Gamer Veranza on Twitch, and mostly my games are the auditory and visual ASMR games, or the fun farming games such as like Harvest Moon, Coral Island, Disney Dreamlight Valley, and as of recently, Fire Emblem.
Dreamlight Valley is what I'm actually familiar with because while I haven't played it, I've sat and watched Ashley play it. So like she'll be doing a quest for Ursula to help Ursula. I'm like, why are you helping Ursula? Ursula is evil. So I am familiar with that one, and Ashley does play a lot of the farming games, the farming sim games as well. So the Stardew Valley type games, she's played some of that.
Yes.
So there is some crossover there. Now, are you as big into Zelda as Matt is, or is that kind of his area of expertise?
That is his area of expertise. I will say the first Zelda game that I ever beat happened to be Breath of the Wild. So I had attempted the other ones in the past. However, he is the Legend of Zelda and I'm the Final Fantasy. That's how we always kind of separate it when it comes to those types of games.
And it's good that you guys can, I'm sure there's some crossover in the games you guys like to play, but it's also important for everyone to have their own stuff that they can have, and play on their own. Do you guys play any like MMORPGs together?
He is not the type that likes the MMORPGs. I did get him and a couple of our friends into New World. Mostly the games that we will play are together. The first game we played together was Team Fortress 2. When we first started dating, because we were in 2 different states at the time, that was the first game that I purchased that we could play together. And it kind of got the ball rolling. We've done a lot of Monster Hunter together. We'll pick up little, like, 4-player games on the Steam that we play. Big one recently has been Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, where you can actually play together in that game. But it's really, he has his group of people that he plays with, and I have my group of people that I play with. And it's very calming, because although we have this great connection through the video games, through everything like that, we can still keep it separated.
There's something that I think's become more commonplace these days, and that, before in a relationship, you kind of did a lot of activities together. And we still do that too, but then there's also like the time where like we're starting to remodel our sitting room where the computer is, where I do my recording and where Ashley plays games on the PC. And we're trying to get a desk for me, and that way I can put a TV on there and bring the PlayStation in here and like in our sitting room. And so essentially we could be sitting kind of next to each other, but playing our own things. And there's that thing of like just sitting in the same room, playing kind of separately, but also together. And I think that's one of those things that, has become more commonplace when it comes to couples, especially couples who play games, because, you don't always have the same taste, but, you can still kind of connect in a way when you're not actually playing together, if that makes any sense.
And it does, because he'll be playing his Elden Ring, or he'll be playing something that I will never touch, because the one thing that we always joke about is he likes to play his games and have a challenge. Like, he wants to have a challenge. If he dies over and over again, whatever. No, that is not me whatsoever. I want to play everything on baby-ass baby mode. Easy, simple. If I die, bring my people back. Like, that's what it is. And like, my setup is in the basement because I do work from home. So I have my work computer, I have my gaming computer, and this is kind of like my safe haven. He has his own room upstairs, which is his safe haven, which has his computer, his work setup if he has to work from home, and everything. So but we can still play together. Like, he can come down to the basement if I'm streaming or something, and he could be on the couch behind me playing on his Steam Deck. Or if he's playing with the guys upstairs, we have a Switch dock up there, or I have my DS, or we can use one of the other systems that we have up in the second bedroom and just play the different games. And I do have that sound. I have a sound issue where I can't have things too loud. So it works out as well because I usually play my games without sound. So I'll be listening to his game, cracking up, listening to the guys play and joking around and everything while I'm playing my Harvest Moon Story of Seasons game, like farming like crazy. And all of a sudden I hear, motherfucker, like this. I was like, oh, that was my fault. One of those. I'm trying not to laugh too hard, not to stop them from playing their games.
Matt's so calm that if I heard him pop off like that, I'm like, well, what? What was that?
It is hilarious because a lot of people say that in real life as well. Like, he just seems like a calm, like, and he is in like 80% of what he does. He's the foundation of our relationship. He's the rock. He keeps everything solid. He can narrow minded. I'm like healing. I'm going, hi everybody, how are you today? Let's go. Like that. But when he gets frustrated with something, or if he starts playing the belly laugh that he will get, or the what the hell, like, is going on, that comes out of him, it just makes me remember, like, what made me fall in love with him, as a very expressive, very loving, very over-the-top person that not a lot of people get to see. So...
Well, we're glad to be able to finally have both of you on Trophy Horrors. And Veronica has been on the Loot Bros before. Veronica, do you remember what episode it was?
Oh my goodness. It was the Pokemon episode. The Pokemon Violet, Scarlet. Why don't I know the
So it would have to have been recent in November or December.
Yeah, I just have to pull it up real quick.
So
if you hear me typing.
So if you do like what Veronica does on Twitch at Gamer Veranza, and you do like the discussion here, you can find more Veronica sometimes over on the Loot Bros. Hopefully, Veronica, after this, will agree to come back on again. And next time when Tricky's on, so we can finally see Tricky cower to somebody else. Because usually Tricky is willing to die on a hill, but I don't know. We've heard that Tricky likes to come into your streams and give you shit. And Matt has to moderate.
He does. We like to mess with each other in each other's streams. It is fun. The Driftcast episode was the December 10th episode of the Driftcast Pokemon Holidays. So that was that one. But Tricky and I, we kind of have that weird understanding where we'll bust each other's balls, but we won't take it seriously. And I think that just comes up from being raised with brothers. That's all I have. I have 2 younger brothers. So... just messing with each other. I feel like I've been talking way too much, and I yield to no one.
No, you're fine.
I'm just hanging out.
Yeah, they get to hear Yield and I every week, or almost every week. But you're new to the show, so it's all getting to know you and because like I said, I'm sure people will get tired of us and hearing us talk. And besides, Yield's probably sitting over there quietly celebrating the Bengals' victory from tonight, so I'm sure he's good.
Oh, I'm good.
Oh, I'm thrilled for yesterday. Don't worry about it.
Oh, I don't pay much attention to the playoffs. What happened yesterday?
Oh, Eagles decimated the Giants.
So how many games did the Eagles lose this year? Because I know that they were 7-0.
4. So I thought it was.
I think it's 4.
That's to say, I knew it was 3 or 4.
It's
because they were on quite the streak. Oh, did
15-3.
Did Jacksonville win or lose? Did Jacksonville beat Kansas City?
They lost. Cincinnati goes to Kansas City Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that'll be quite a shootout there, Yield.
It will be. Hopefully Cincinnati can go 4-0 against them.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and, now that we know who Veronica is, let's go ahead and give our updated trophy counts. Tricky is a level 810 with a total trophy count of Even I can't screw over Tricky that much. Not 2,000, 23,755. I'm sure Tricky's got like 2,000 trophies in the last week. With a platinum count of 622. I am level 469, total trophy count of 8,401, and a platinum count of 136 in 135 games. Yield, sir?
I am a newly minted 486 with a trophy count of 9085. And since I last recorded, I have a newly minted 162 platinums. I have one new one since the last time I recorded.
And we'll get into that when we talk about what you've been playing. Sid is level 455 with a total trophy count of 5,668 with a platinum count of 157. I know he's got a new count, so hopefully Tricky updated that.
I'm hoping I got the right one. It looked like it.
And then, Veronica, do you have your, I don't know if Tricky sent you the agenda, if you have the kind of front of you.
I have mine, and here's the fun thing. I don't think I've touched my PlayStation since 2019. Which is bad. So I'm level 83. My trophy count is 269 with 0 platinums.
But here's the thing. Well, that's why you and Matt are a perfect match, because he also has 0 platinums. He's very proud of that. But as you said, I can't remember if you said on the show while we were recording or if you just told me, but you don't play your PlayStation games on the PlayStation, you play them on the PC.
It's a lot easier for me to play on my PC. But if I do play, I think really the last 2 games that I played on the PlayStation 3 were Kingdom Hearts 3, which I almost threw the controller at the system, and Final Fantasy 15. Like, those were the 2 big ones. Like, the next big one that I am looking forward to is going to be the Harry Potter games. But that's also going to be, am I going to play that on the PC or am I going to actually play that on a console?
Well, and also Final Fantasy 16, I believe, is supposed to come out this year, and I assume it's going to launch. Is it going to launch on PC the same as when it launches on PS5?
I don't know. I've kind of, my brain has been Fire Emblem since Fire Emblem was announced, but I'm playing Type 4 right now. Let's see. Release of 2023, PlayStation as a timed exclusive. So.
We might have lost Alex for a minute.
No, I'm here.
Oh,
Veronica, are you there? Did we lose Veronica?
Did we lose Veronica?
Hi. I'm sorry. I went to go turn something off and I didn't. I said it's coming out on June 22nd, 2023, but it's a timed exclusive.
So can you wait? How much time have they announced?
It doesn't tell me. I don't think.
I don't think they ever
release. It emerges. It will release worldwide on June 22nd, 2023. It'll be timed exclusive for 6 months.
Can you wait?
No, that's why I'll probably play it on the PS5.
So Final Fantasy.
Well, that's the thing. I played Final Fantasy 15 on the PS5 or 4 when it came out, and because that came out 2016, and that was a complete playthrough. Didn't put it down. Like, the difference between Matt and I when it comes to video games is Matt gets ADD with games. Like, he can play a game for 2 hours, he gets bored with it, he has to pop to another game. When I start playing a game, it's like I'm playing that game for 5 weeks, and that's the only game I'm playing. So we are very different when it comes to that.
That is more like me in that I will, if I start a game and I like it, I will have to finish that game before I can move to another game. I mean, I can split duty sometimes and play 2 games at once, but mostly it's that one game.
Yes. 100%.
Like
right now.
Your mind's going to explode when you hear what I've been playing now.
Oh, no.
All right, Yield. Well, if you want to segue into that, why don't you go ahead and tell us the multitude of things you've been playing as well. Why don't you start off with your new platinum?
So my new platinum was A Plague Tale: Innocence. Excellent game. You should play it. Let's see here. What have I been playing this week? I've been playing Deep Rock last 2 weeks. I've been playing Deep Rock Galactic. I've been playing World of Warship Legends. I've been playing Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls. Shadow of the Tomb Raider, of course, Plague Tale: Innocence, Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast. I've been playing Immortals Phoenix Rising DLC. Let me make sure I get the name of it right. A New God. I've been playing the Final Station DLC bundle called The Only Traitor. And I've been playing Bugsnax. And I think that's all the games I've encompassed the last 2 weeks.
So are you playing Bugsnax on... Because Tricky has talked about getting us a year of premium, which Bugsnax is on extra. So I've actually held off on buying that because if Tricky does, get us the subscription or the ability to pay for the subscription, we'll have access to it then. Did you just add it to your library when it's free for PlayStation Plus, or did you actually go out and buy it?
No. So the story behind that was when the game came out, I was like, there's no way on God's green earth I am spending hard-earned money on that game. So when they offered it free for Plus, when the 5 launched, I'm like, well, you know what, it's free. I'll just go on the computer, add it to my 5 library. So I did. And I was kind of jonesing to start a new game, and I was like, the heck with it, I'm going to start this game. So, I'll just go ahead and give you my impression of it. When I saw the trailer, I'm like, that's just a dumb game. Just a dumb game. And it is just a dumb game. But I stepped back from that comment a little bit because when you get to playing the game, the trailer didn't do the game 100% justice. And it is kind of fun. The villagers in the village are kind of your over-the-top people, so to speak. You've got like this weightlifting surfer dude and the gossip girl and the conspiracy theorist, and it's just kind of like, they're like over the top. And it's enjoyable, but it's still fun. I still stand by my initial thought that it's more of a kid's game, but it does have the adult element to it. I mean that isn't like gameplay. But I'm enjoying it for what it was. Glad I didn't pay for it. But
and then my other question is, you've beaten Plague Tale: Innocence. Are you going to go back and play Requiem now?
Yes, I will pick up Requiem hopefully sometime by the end of the year. Innocence was first. Requiem's the sequel.
Well, we got Innocence, I believe, for free on PlayStation Plus at some point. And
we did.
Requiem was the one that was up for Game of the Year last year at the Game Awards. So, yeah, Innocence came first, and then Requiem was the most recent one.
Innocence is really good. The puzzle solving isn't challenging, but it's fun. It makes you think a little bit. But the story's really good. So I would say, if you're into the story element of your games, give that one a go.
Very nice. Veronica, what have you been up to this week?
This week, it was up until Friday at midnight, or Thursday until midnight, it was Stories of Seasons, Pioneer of Olive Town, which I started the game fresh on my 24-hour birthday charity stream. And I have not put it down until Fire Emblems Engage came in. So, and this is going to be kind of weird as well, but I have a single mobile game that I play, that it's the only game that I play on my phone. And it's called Shop Titans. And I play that every day. And that's all I do.
Now I'm not familiar with Shop Titans because the only mobile game I play is Pokemon Go. What exactly is Shop Titans?
Basically you're a shopkeeper, and you have to create weapons, medicines, clothing, spirits, things, and you sell them to people. And it's like that timed type of game where a sword will take 3 hours to make, or this will take that many hours to make, and you just continually expand throughout the thing. And I started out playing, got into a guild that's in the game, and just kept playing, and now somehow I'm now the guild master. with the highest rank in my guild. So, it's on Steam, it's on the phone, it's free. I do pay, and I do, what does Kalai call them? Shit crystals? I think we always joke. I do pay for this game because I've been playing this game for, I think, a year and a half now, almost 2 years, every day. And when a game like that gives me that much joy, I'm willing to throw some money at the developers. Like, here.
Yeah, if you're trying out mobile games, if you've got 20 mobile games you play, like, that can get expensive, but, like, I will put money into Pokemon Go when it's deserved because that's the only one I play. So when you've got that one you really like and you put time into it, I think it's perfectly logical, to be willing to put money into it.
Yeah.
Does this game, because I know a lot of mobile games, obviously driven by microtransactions, but does it have anything, like, you're creating things, does it have anything to do with, like, is the money energy that you're having to buy, or is your character run on energy?
It can do things. You can either, your energy comes from your sales, really. So if you sell something, you get X amount of energy. And if you have enough energy, you can actually speed up the time on what you're creating. You can also speed up with the use of shit crystals. So you can use, and there's certain things that only allow for speed up with, like, they're diamonds in the game, so we have golden diamonds. The diamonds are what you pay for. But what's really cool about it is you don't have to put money into this game. And it's still very enjoyable. Like, in my guild, we have 17 people in our guild. 16. We have 16 people in our guild. And I would say only about a third of us do, like, the monthly pass on the game. And the other 2/3 don't. And they'll maybe buy a pack here and there, but they still have fun with the game. And what's cool in the game as well is that you have, like, a guild chat that you can talk to each other and say, hey, this is what's going on, this is what's happening. We may not all be at the game at the same time, because in my guild, I have people that are in Thailand, in Australia, some people that are in England, and all. A bunch of us go on to a messaging program called Line, Line, and we talk there, like, in person. But for me, like I said, that's just that game that I know that if I'm going to bed at night and I'm just like, I'm waiting for the melatonin to kick in, start up some really long weapons or capes or something like that so it can go until the night. And I'm good to go. It's my calm game. It's my I'm not screaming at somebody to fall in love with somebody game.
So I'm assuming that much of your, game time will be Fire Emblem in the coming weeks of the month. So we chase the platinum trophies. For you, like, what does game completion look like? Do you go for 100% completion, or do you just beat a game, do as much as you can, if you get tired of it, you move on?
It's a lot of times my games are those type of games that they have, like, a storyline, but they continue after that storyline. So something like a Harvest Moon or a game like that, it becomes, all right, I've already finished my storyline on Harvest Moon. However, not all the people, it's almost like 100%ing a game. Like it is in, like, getting a platinum. But there will be a point where you can't do it anymore, or you're missing something and you're not willing to go that far. I know that, like, there's certain times that I've put down, like, especially when it comes to Final Fantasy games or something like that, you have a true storyline, but then they will give you downloadable content afterwards. Sometimes I go for that downloadable content, sometimes I don't. And it just all depends. Like with Story of Seasons, I played that game until Fire Emblem came out. Will I go back to it? Most likely. maybe not. It may be a Final Fantasy or a Harry Potter that takes over, and I just may not look at Harvest Moon again. It all depends on if there is something after I finish. And it's usually this storyline.
Fair enough. It's also good to know that I'm not the only weirdo that focuses on one game and then doesn't move on until, you know.
I can't. I don't know how you people do it. Seriously, yield.
Well, see, when some of my games, like the DLC games, the Final Station and Immortals Phoenix Rising, I've already beat the main story. So now I'm just going back through, and I've wanted to play those DLCs, and so I was planning on that was kind of my thing to do this year, was games I owned the DLC to actually go back and play them, clean up the trophies. And then, the trophy rarity contest happened to fall along in there as well. So, hey, it's a win-win for me. A lot of times my wife doesn't really play video games, but she likes to watch some of the story games. So there are certain games she's like, ooh, I want to be down here when you play that one, like Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I've played all the Tomb Raiders. She's watched them all. So, like that one, she wanted to be down there. So that was kind of our game. And then, A Plague Tale, she really wasn't interested after seeing the trailer. Bug Snacks. So on nights where I'm kind of on my own, I play those games, those types of games. And then I've got my chill games, like my Farm Simulator and even kind of World of Warships. All I do anymore for World of Warships Legends, I just kind of jump in, help my bureau project. Maybe if they're doing an event, I'll do what I need to do to kind of move the event along. But I really might spend maybe an hour here or there diving into that. So that's kind of how I jump around. But if it's like a really big title or something I've been wanting to play, that'll engulf my entire gaming time until I'm done or platinum.
All right. And then quickly, I'll jump on to what I've been playing before we move on. Shout out to Nitro, who joined me for some Rocket League on this past Thursday. Good playing with you as always, Nitro. Mainly, though, what I've been playing is Biomutant. I know this game got kind of not...
How is that?
Middling reviews, not bad reviews, but it got good to middling reviews. Kind of like... I saw some people online say... And I'll get to your question. I'm not ignoring you, Yield. I'll get to your question here.
Okay, no, that's fine.
I saw people online be like, I don't understand why this game did get better reviews. I'm loving this game. I'm really enjoying this game a lot, Yield. It's a lot of fun. And I am just kind of like, I was up until 6 a.m. last night playing this game, or I should say this morning playing this game. Like, I'll just get onto a streak where this is one of those games, and I felt this way with Weird West too, but particularly with this game where I just don't want to stop playing. I have a nickname for the game it's Biohazard or Biomutant Side Quest Hell, because there are so many side quests packed into this game, and they don't take too terribly long, but like, you'll walk into an area and 3 different characters will give you a side quest, and before you know it, like within a half an hour, you've got 20 side quests on the map, and it's like, oh my gosh, my brain hurts. There's too much going on. But luckily, you don't have to do all the side quests in order to get the Platinum Trophy. But no, I'm really enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. I love the fast travel. You can fast travel. Like, there are fast travel points in the game, but you can fast travel literally from anywhere as long as you're not inside a building or falling or in combat. Or I think also on a mount. But they also have mounts, so you can call a mount to you at any time. Like a typical, this is like a world where the world has been destroyed. It's all irradiated. Mutations are rampant. So when I say a horse, it's not really a horse like we would know it, but like just mutated monster horse. Like little like jet skis, stuff like that. So you have all different kind of mounts. Like I just recently got a bat that can fly. I haven't figured out how to get it to fly yet, but I assume that it can fly. So you have all these different mounts you can call to you for different situations to help you get around the map. But I love the fast travel. I really wish a game like Horizon Forbidden West would take a cue from that, because Horizon had the little campfires that you could fast travel for free with the campfires, but outside of the campfire range, you had to use a fast travel pack. So you had to have a resource, a one-use only resource that you could use to fast travel. Just let me fast travel from anywhere on the map as long as there aren't certain conditions going on. There is crafting of weapons, melee weapons, ranged weapons, guns and stuff. I've only used that a couple times because when I actually got the system down, I was able to craft a weapon powerful enough, a gun in particular, that will last me to the end of the game. So there's a lot of scavenging. I've scavenged so much around the world and explored so much that I don't ever have to buy anything. So the money that I'm collecting around the world, I'm just not using. But yeah, aside from, kind of getting a headache from the side quest, the combat's a lot of fun. The world's a lot of fun to explore. It is a little annoying how there are certain areas that are like, you have to have a special heat suit to go into, or else you'll die eventually. You can only take so much. Or there are certain biohazard areas or irradiated areas or particularly cold areas where you have to have specialized suits. And there are side quests tied to each suit. But just a lot of times when you're exploring, you have to kind of go in and like put on a 3-piece suit, and it gets a little tedious to do that over and over again. Granted, I haven't sold a lot or really anything that I picked up, so there's a lot of just loose clothes in my inventory that I could get rid of to make things easier on myself. But it's really good, Yield. I think that you will enjoy it when and if you start to play it. So again, it was a free game for PlayStation Plus. So anyone who hasn't tried it yet, if you long you put in your library, you got a free crack at it. But yeah, I'm probably getting towards upwards of 50 hours of this game, and I'm loving it. So I would definitely recommend it. Yield, open world RPG. You get to design your own character. You get to design like the special like what its mutation or like what it's typically like resistant to, the body shape and everything. So you did get a little character customization. It lasts about 10 minutes, and from there you're off in the world. I will say it's a little handholdy. Like the first hour and a half of the game is tutorial. So it's a little handholdy, but, overall, it's a really good game. And, it's not such a bad thing to have it, for a game, brand new game that you're playing. Not so bad to have a tutorial level that lasts that long for, people who may not be into that style of game or just trying it for the first time. So, but yeah, I'm enjoying it. Are you planning on playing it?
Yes, it was always a game that I had my eye on, but I just never pulled the trigger when it was on sale, so I was excited to get it free for Plus.
And I think that it's a game that, like I said before, that while I don't think the critical reviews necessarily reflect how fun of a game it is, because there are weird things like where in battle the music will drop out, and there's also like I've completed side quests right as I picked them up, and there are some times where side quests just disappear and I don't know how to get them. Luckily, they're not like particularly important side quests that are tied to trophies or anything, but there are weird little glitches that I've noticed in the game, but they haven't deterred from my enjoyment. So I don't know. I'm in the crowd where I'm saying like I don't know why this game didn't get better scores because I'm really enjoying it. But yeah, it's an open world game, so it is a commitment. You look at the map, and after playing Horizon Forbidden West, you're like, man, this map isn't that big. But then you get into the world, and the amount of stuff they've packed into that map, you're like, okay, this is going to take me a while. So, you don't have to do everything to the platinum, but, there's a lot there to explore if you want to. So expect like 60 to 70 hours of gameplay if you want to explore like the game in depth. So, yeah.
Awesome.
That is essentially what I've been playing. Before we move into our topics, I do want to ask, Yield, I don't think you've watched it, but Veronica, have you and Matt watched The Last of Us on HBO?
He's watching it. I am not. I do have an aversion to real life gore, where it will turn into a night terror. So we had started the Walking Dead when it had first come out. Like we started watching that together, and about halfway through the first season, I was like, "Have fun, enjoy." I can't do this. And he told me that The Last of Us is basically going to be that. I enjoyed, and it's interesting that Yield had said this, that Matt and I both like to watch each other play certain games as well. So I watched him play The Last of Us, and he watched me play BioShock. So when he plays certain story-driven games on his PlayStation, I do sit down and watch him play them. So, but no, I can't. It's not going to be pretty for me if I watch it.
Yeah, it's not like the exact same thing as The Walking Dead, but if you're averse to The Walking Dead, you certainly aren't going to find anything more comforting in The Last of Us.
Yeah.
So, real quick, I mean, I think that Daryl and Tricky were talking about doing podcast episodes, like extra episodes on The Last of Us, reviewing every episode and talking about them. I don't know what the plans are for that exactly, because they were planning to do it in the morning, and I couldn't be a part of that. So, I don't know what they plan to do with that going forward, and maybe on our Patreon. I don't know. But we did finish the first episode last night, so I just kind of want to give my initial thoughts on it. And once Tricky's back, I'm sure he'll be willing to talk a little bit about it. The one thing I will say is I wish I had played The Last of Us. I'm not going to say that I wish I had played The Last of Us Part 1, went out and bought it last year, but I do wish that I had played the game more recently to kind of maybe put together like what they took from the game specifically. I mean, there are certain things I do understand, but there are certain little story beats that I in little like Easter eggs, they're like callbacks that maybe I don't pick up on because it's been so long since I played the game. And I realized I could go to YouTube, and I'm sure Watch Mojo or all the Looper or all these different channels have like things you missed in The Last of Us, or they'll talk about them on that kind of channel. So I could always go to YouTube and find that stuff. But initial impressions, I like it. I think they do a good job of portraying. First of all, the cast is really good. It seems like Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey are going to do really good in their roles. And even I had read something where I think it was on GameSpot, where some of the actual actors who portrayed the clickers in the video game, or clicker voice actors from The Last of Us, reprised their role in the HBO show. So they're actually pulling people that were part of the game into the show. And of course, Neil Druckmann is the executive producer on the show, so you're going to have some of that. The lady actually who voiced Marlene in the game, I'm trying to find her name, Merle Dandridge, is actually the person who plays Marlene in the show. And it's just kind of cool to see that that carryover. Ashley Johnson, she has a role in the TV series. So, I mean, overall, I think they did a very good job on the casting, a very good job portraying how dire the world has become, and how in the first episode the shit kind of hits the fan. So it doesn't take long to jump in, but still, the person who does play Sarah, who is Joel's daughter, she you. In the game, you don't, like that. That was like, there's obviously a very difficult scene in the game as regards to Sarah, because, as they talk about in the after show discussion on HBO, that the death of Sarah in The Last of Us, Joel's daughter, biological daughter, is kind of the fulcrum point for everything that happens and how it shapes him as a human being going forward. But the person who plays Sarah in the show, her first name is Nico. I cannot remember exactly what her full name is. But for the time she's on screen, and it's maybe a half an hour, she does a really good job portraying that character. And like they said, I can't remember who is the person who directed the show, but Neil Druckmann talked about this, how you kind of have to, it's a really tough role, because as that character, you have to get people to invest in you in a short amount of time and understand that you are the protagonist, and then they pull the rug out from under you and say, oh wait, no, this isn't the protagonist actually. So they kind of have to get people to attach to that character, and then, have someone who's really endearing, but then also you understand that they're gonna, there's gonna be that loss very early on. So casting wise, have done a really good job. I'm really impressed with the first episode. Can't wait to see how the series progresses. Again, with Neil Druckmann on the as an executive producer, they obviously are gonna have someone who's a direct pipeline, one of the creators of the series. So I think that's gonna really help with quality, and especially callbacks and making everything make sense. And I know that they're not gonna exactly, they're going to they're going to obviously pull from the games, but they're also going to expand upon the ideas in the game. So it's not going to be like a one for one, thing. Like, so basically there still will be new things for you to see, even if you play the games. But yeah, it's gory, it's visceral, it's dire. And yeah, the only things that I wonder coming out of it, with Neil Druckmann now being such a big part of this project, how much did that take away from his responsibilities at Naughty Dog, which Naughty Dog is a tremendously talented team. So I'm sure that, there's someone in there to step into that role if Neil Druckmann, is away for any amount of time. But then also, if Neil Druckmann ever, because obviously he has been involved in very story-heavy based games like Uncharted, like The Last of Us, if he ever wants to go move out of Sony and into TV, this is certainly a way for him to do that, certainly an off-ramp for him if he ever, wants to do that. But, Sony and HBO took this seriously. They are, it's not just a video game adaptation they're looking to make money on. They actually took it seriously, and it seems like it's going to be high quality, and they've got, the people behind it to make the project go. The first episode of the series had 4.7 million viewers, and it's HBO's, I think, #1 debut. I'm pulling this also from GameSpot from their Instagram, but I think it's their #1, aside from House of the Dragon, which had 9.98 million. It is their #1 debut since 2010. So it was very confusing with that. With 4.7 million viewers, The Last of Us is HBO's second largest debut since 2010, only behind Game of Thrones spinoff House of the Dragon. So a pretty good reception so far, and a lot of people obviously interested in the series itself. So to have 4.7 million people show up, good for Sony, good for HBO, and I'm positive about the future of the show. Veronica obviously doesn't really want to deal with the subject matter of seeing people ripped apart by clickers and all the gore and stuff that comes with that. But Yield, you said that you picked this up, I think, in our chats at retail when it comes to DVD. You still sticking to that, or any chance you watch it beforehand?
Oh, no, I'm waiting for it to come to DVD.
Fair enough, but I will tell you it is good. You still haven't played The Last of Us Part 2, but you played the first one, right?
I played the first one, yes.
Yeah, it will be, having played The Last of Us Part 2, I don't know how long they plan to have the show run, but once they actually get to the second game and some of the source material from that, that's going to be a rough watch. I don't know if I'm going to have an easy time watching that, or who knows, maybe I don't even choose to watch it, but I'm very excited to see the rest of the first season, because I have a feeling that, it's going to be a good show. So if anyone hasn't checked it out yet, I would definitely recommend it. Veronica, did Matt give you any did he say anything about how he felt about the show, or give any feedback?
He actually likes it. He is very much kind of on par with what you said, where the casting is good, everything. And he even went into how we were both reading that there were a lot of people that were upset with the casting of Bella Ramsey in her role, because she doesn't look like the character. And I go, but that's not looks aren't the only thing. When it comes to somebody, it's their mannerisms, it's the way they move. It's why, as a person that likes Broadway shows, I grew up as a theater kid. You didn't have the same actor play the same roles all the time. You had different actors that looked differently, spoke differently, but the mannerisms and the way they delivered the lines and the way they do that character justice is what brings that character to life. And he said that he thought that a lot of people were doing just that they were making it that because she didn't look like Ellie, she was not going to be good in this role. And he goes, and she proved them wrong. I was like, good.
Yeah, no, I mean, she's good. I've had no trouble suspending my disbelief between, what Ellie looked like in the game and what Bella Ramsey looks like in the show. So far, she's been good. And it's important to point out that Joel's daughter in the show does not look like Joel's daughter, Sarah, in the video game. So I think sometimes people get lost in that and they get too caught up in that. But no, I think it was a good casting choice. So I'm happy so far with the show, and I'm glad that Sony and, like I said, HBO have taken this seriously, because with, all they're looking to do with Horizon and God of War and even Gran Turismo, bringing that stuff to the small screen, to the big screen, having television shows about stuff, having movies about stuff, you need to have your first effort like this be a hit. So it looks like they're doing pretty well. Now, Veronica, you talked about how you are interested in PSVR, and our first story actually brings that up, where Sony confirms the list of the launch games for the PlayStation VR 2. This comes from Adam Bankhurst at IGN.com. The headline is, Sony confirms list of 30-plus games coming to PlayStation VR 2 during its launch window. Quote, Sony has officially confirmed the launch window lineup for PSVR 2 through March 2023, and it includes 13 new titles that haven't been announced for the platform before, including Tetris Effect Connected and Res Infinite. As detailed on the PlayStation blog, PlayStation VR 2 will launch on February 22nd, 2023, and more than 30 games will be available on the platform before March comes to an end, barring any unforeseen circumstances. Alongside big hitters like Horizon Call of the Mountain, Resident Evil Village, No Man's Sky, and Gran Turismo 7, PSVR 2 owners will also be able to look forward to these 13 newly announced titles, which include Before Your Eyes, Kayak VR, Mirage, Pavlov VR, Puzzling Places, Song in the Smoke, Rekindled, Synth Raiders, Remastered Edition, Thumper, New Pro, NFL Pro Era, What the Bat, Res Infinite, Tetris Effect Connected, Creed, Rise to Glory, Championship Edition, and The Last Clockwinder. The full list of PlayStation VR's launch window lineup are as follows, and I'll try to break these up so I don't repeat anything. After the Fall from Vertigo Games, Altar Breaker from Third Verse, Before Your Eyes, Skybound Interactive Launch Window, Cities VR, Fast Travel Games, Cosmonius High, Alchemy, The Dark Picture Switchback from Supermassive, Demio from Resolution Games, Desynchronia, Chronos Alternative, My Dearest Ink from Perp Games, Fantasia Vision 2020X from Cosmo Machia Inc. Let's see, Job Simulator from Alchemy, Jurassic World Aftermath from Coatsink, Kazuna AI, Touch the Beat, Gym Drops Inc., The Light Brigade from Funkatronic Labs. Let's see, Moss 1 and 2 Remaster from Polyarch, Pistol Whip from Cloudhead, free upgrade on that, Puzzling Places, free upgrade on that, Resident Evil Village, Capcom via free upgrade to PS5 version of Resident Evil Village, Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge from ILMX Lab, Tale of Orangoro from Amada KK, Tentacular from Devolver, The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, Chapter 2 Retribution from Skydance, Vacation Simulator from Alchemy, and then Zenith The Last City from Ramen VR, free upgrades. So lots of games I threw there at you all. I want to break up this article a little bit because I know listing off games that maybe people have never heard of isn't helpful. But Veronica, what is it about VR? It was VR, like you said, you starting to play more PlayStation games. Was VR really the kind of like entry door into you wanting to play more PlayStation?
I don't think it's like the entryway per se, and when it comes to certain things like that, but VR tends to be that one thing that catches me with different types of games. So I actually have a workout program that I use specifically on my VR that I'm in love with. And I will sit there, I'll play on my VR for like 15 to 20 minutes, and then I'll get into my workout. And then after my workout, I'll just sit back down and play another game that I can just sit down with. And it becomes this, all right, well, I'm going to be sitting with my VR for X amount of time. My workout's only this amount of time. I might as well do other things with it. And that's where it really came into play with the different VR games.
And then are you guys planning to get a PlayStation VR 2?
We actually each have our own Oculuses. So we each have one. So it's maybe. We are that couple that has every iteration of everything in our household. So we have an original PlayStation all the way up to the PlayStation 5. We have a Dreamcast. We have an Xbox One all the way up to the cooler Xbox. And we build our own computers. So we each have our own Oculus Quests. I can see us getting the PlayStation VR. Just because it's who we are as a couple.
And so with the Oculus, do you guys have to upgrade that every year, or how often do they come up for upgrades for that?
No, it's actually like our Oculus since we've gotten them. we haven't had to upgrade. We've had to do the patches like anybody else, but there's never been a upgrade to a different system.
Okay, the only reason I ask is I know, like anything, they come out with new models for the system, and I don't know if, the like an iPhone, like, oh man, the new Oculus is so amazing that we just have to have it.
No, and I think that's where the line is kind of drawn. A, shame on you for iPhone. B, Android family here.
See, I had an Android, and then I went to iPhone because my Android just started bugging out on me, and like I like the openness of it, but the iPhone is just so like easy to use that it's just kind of where I'm at in life.
Right. I think for like us, it's, and this is kind of where the thought process goes when it comes to Matt and the video game systems. We hear about the video game systems coming out, and he goes, well, there's no real need for the video game systems, right? And then, like, after about a month of listening about it, he's like, well, maybe it looks like the game lineup for the PlayStation is going to be the best, so maybe we'll just get the PlayStation. And then after we get the PlayStation, well, we got the PlayStation, so we have to get the Xbox. So regardless of what the conversation is in the beginning, we end up with them anyways.
Is there any particular game that you've heard about that would make you be like, that would be the driving force between you all getting the VR2?
I think for him, it would definitely be Resident Evil. I think Resident Evil or Star Wars. Those would be, like, his two that he would go to. For me, just based on my, like, gaming love, in a sense, it's gonna be the No Man's Skies, or the puzzle places, or, the Tales game. Like, Vacation Simulator. I play Power Wash Simulator. Like, if I could get Power Wash Simulator on VR, that's going to be the VR game that I'm going to play.
No, I mean, I look at the list of games, and like they had a Creed game, which is obviously based on the movie, so it's going to be a boxing game, and like something like that, like is cool to have in VR because it gives you a much different experience that you can have with a controller. Same with like a lightsaber duel in Star Wars. So while I'm not completely sold on VR, and I think Yield agrees with me, we are starting to see some games where it's like, okay, we have the genesis of really good ideas that can maybe convert some people, like, but I guess that I want to see games that are, how can I say, like, I just want to see the major difference in playing a game on this versus that, having a console. Because, again, we look at it as, like, hey, and I'm sorry I'm speaking for you, Yield, but we've podcasted enough that, it's like I kind of feel like I know how you feel on this. But it's like, it's just, like you said, Matt said, it's unnecessary, and we just haven't really seen the light when it comes to VR.
That becomes the issue with it. Like, for me, we had the opportunity to get VRs. It wasn't like something along the lines of, we're getting the VR system because we want it. We actually had opportunities at the different times to have the different VR systems. And for me, the VR is an extension of something else that I'm playing. And a little bit of a side note, like, I was a competitive athlete when I was younger, and I had a really bad accident many years ago that caused me not to be able to do the sport anymore. And it has been really difficult for me to find something that holds my attention as a workout that makes it fun and easy for me. So when I was able to find the workout program on the Oculus, that is what I tend to use it for. Like, my VR is my workout system. I don't go to a gym. I don't do anything like that. I work out on my VR. but I don't have it for the other games. Like, I don't have it for Beat Saber or anything like that. But they are cool extensions to my workout machine.
All right. Yeah, I mean, if you can avoid paying for the gym and you can just work out at home, why the heck not? One of the things that was talked about in the article is Polyphony Digital bringing Gran Turismo 7 to the Oculus, or not the Oculus, the PlayStation VR 2. Going back to the article, quote, Kazunori Yamauchi, the president of Polyphony Digital, shared a few words in the blog post about the upcoming free VR update for owners of Gran Turismo 7 and teases a bit of what fans can expect. He says, we're thrilled that Gran Turismo 7 will be free for PSVR 2 as a launch title through a free upgrade. For those who have already purchased Gran Turismo 7, players will experience all cars and tracks in VR like never before. Yamauchi said, Gran Turismo 7 VR will take full advantage of PSVR 2's next-gen features with eye tracking and foveated rendering. Players will experience stunning visual fidelity while racing in any of the 450-plus cars. While two-player split-screen races are not supported in VR, all other races, including online races, will be available. From Nuremberg to Tsukuba, tracks will be experienced exactly as they are in real life. So Sony noted that the final launch software lineup is subject to change without notice. Furthermore, IGN is confirming with certain developers whose games are not on this list but stated intention to launch alongside PSVR 2 like Among Us 2, and will update when we hear back. So, I mean, it's cool. It seems like if you have already purchased Gran Turismo 7, you will be able to play through a free update on the VR 2 without having to pay anything, which is pretty awesome. I mean, granted, Horizon Call of the Mountain is a completely new game apart from Horizon and Horizon Forbidden West. So I mean that's going to come with a cost, but we were worried about people who have libraries for the PSVR 1 for Moss and Moss 2 having to rebuy games, which it seems like people still might have to do. But if you already own a game and then it becomes PSVR compatible, it's nice that you can get a free upgrade for that. But yeah, Yield, anything you different? I know I was speaking for you earlier, but is there anything that you want to say on VR 2 or this launch lineup? Do you think that they're adequately going to finally adequately support a peripheral that they put out?
I mean, only time will tell. I mean, they're throwing out 30 games, and we'll have to wait until trailers launch and see how they look, and then see how some of the people in the community, what they feel, if it's more than just a glorified tech demo other than a couple of games. We'll just have to see.
Veronica, as someone who's played extensively on the Oculus, did you all have to get over the hump of seeing things as a tech demo or just kind of like a gimmick before you all were fully able to accept like VR as a thing, as a part of your life in general?
I honestly think that the games that we play on it, well, me specifically, I don't want to speak for Matt on this, but for me specifically, the games that I play aren't that, I want to say, graphics heavy or peripheral heavy. So it never really felt like a tech demo for me. Beat Saber is a big one that a lot of people talk about with the Oculus and everything, and seems to be a staple, and that was one of the games. There is a little bit of me that sits there and goes, all right, well, I see certain things on the Oculus or in VR in general that are very, I don't want to do this. Like, why is this a thing? In a sense. But there's other things that, luckily, they have the free demos, and I can look into it and be like, oh, this is cool. And yes, you can have that tech demo. You can have that idea. A great way to use the Oculus, and a great way, is to go into different libraries, to go into different learning. If you just don't even want to get into the video games. Like, say you're just I don't know when this would ever come up for some of us, but I don't want to play a video game today, but I want to use my VR. You can go and you can do a tour of Sweden or Japan or something along those lines, and they can give you a history lesson, which I find to be a really cool diversity. That, yes, you can have VR as the video game thing that we like talking about, but you can also turn around and say, all right, I've played this game for like an hour and a half. I know I'm not supposed to be doing this anymore. Let me like calm down for a minute and tour Rome.
Well, and that's an experience
Cool.
that is, yeah, that is cool, because like, I mean, Assassin's Creed Origins, they try to do something like that where your player would walk, it's a third person action game, so your player would walk through certain areas, and at each point you would come to a little like waypoint where it would give you information on how they did things in the old days. And yeah, that's a good learning tool, but it's not quite the same as, like you said, being able to walk through a city and experience it that way. So there are definitely things that they can do a lot better in VR than we can with video games, and it's nice to have finally I guess a mix of the two, where you have your standard video games with a controller, but then there's also something like VR that people can get into if they, want to spend the extra money. And with something like Astro's Playroom, that game was very much somewhere between a game and a tech demo. It was kind of both. But I think that video game developers have gotten a lot better at hiding what is actually a pure tech demo and actually making it more somewhat of a game than, we'd previously seen on, like, say, the original PlayStation. So, even something that comes across as a tech demo or is meant to show you what the device can do can still be fun like a game.
And that's where it really comes down. And the problem, I think, is not having a lot of the first party going into the VRs. You're getting a lot of third-party gamings, and it does happen to be another system's downfall sometimes with what they have on their store, where you get a lot of these indie games that don't properly show how the system works. And that's a big concern when it does come to VR for me, where you go into it, you say, okay, this looks like a cool game and it's a great concept for VR, but the studio and the production company that's making it doesn't have the technology or the means available to them to use the VR in the way it should be used or can be used. And you're getting a subpar VR game that has a really cool concept. And I think that's where a lot of us, including you guys, are sitting on the VR, where it's a great concept. People have great ideas for VR games, but unless they have the backing, the technology, the funding even, to implement exactly how they want this game to be made, and the support of VR being able to do that, I don't think it's going to pick up in the same way that a PS5 or an Xbox is going to be. Yes, it may take time, and it may just get to that point where people get so pissed off that they can't play a game on a VR set that companies such as PlayStation finally go, here you go. Here's your money. Go. But I think it's going to be... There's going to be a change somewhere down the line. I just don't think it's going to be this iteration of it.
Well, as long as they continue to support VR2 and, pickup of the Oculus is still positive, hopefully they will stick with it and we'll see a PSVR 3. And by that point, I think we'll know, we can feel safe in assuming that, yeah, Sony's in this sort of long haul instead of, we got a PSP and then we got a Vita, and then it all kind of died after that. So I think by the third iteration, we will know whether, we will finally have confirmation that they are in it for the long haul. Or, even maybe on this generation, the VR2, depending on how free the games flow and how, the support of the system is itself, we'll get a good indication. One of the games that was sure to have a ton of support at the start was Marvel's Avengers from Crystal Dynamics. And bit of a sad note here, coming from IGN.com and written by Kat Bailey, Marvel's Avengers to be delisted in September as development comes to an end. Quote, a little more than 2 years after its original release, Crystal Dynamics is preparing to end active development on the Marvel's Avengers, a decision it says it undertook in conjunction with our partners. According to a blog titled Final Update on the Future of Marvel's Avengers, support will discontinue on September 30th, after which digital purchases will no longer be available. All solo content will continue to be playable after support ends, and multiplayer will also remain available. Crystal Dynamics does not plan to release any new stories, features, or heroes, making Update 2.7, which added Winter Soldier and the Cloning Lab Omega level threat, the final content release for Avengers. Spider-Man will remain a PlayStation exclusive. The final balance update will be Update 2.8, which will be released on March 31st. Afterward, Crystal Dynamics says it will be turn off the cosmetics marketplace and credits will no longer be purchasable. Credits balance will be converted into in-game resources and all cosmetics will be made available for free. Reading one more thing here because I'm trying to... Okay, yeah. Quote, community insider Miller Ross first broke the news that Marvel's Avengers will be shutting down and that the team would be moved to Amazon Games' Tomb Raider project. So that kind of tells you where Crystal Dynamics and where the team that worked on Marvel's Avengers will be heading. But yeah, I mean, this game, obviously coming off the heels of the MCU and Endgame, had massive appeal for a lot of people. You know, if you hadn't been hit with superhero fatigue by now. And but they kind of stumbled out of the gate. The game wasn't what people had expected. And while they certainly added more content and did much to improve the game after its initial release, I don't necessarily know that many of the people that were disappointed by its launch were willing to go back to it. I know that Tricky played it, so it's a shame he's not here to talk more about this, but Yield and I never quite jumped on, and quite frankly, like I've talked about my Marvel fatigue, I am someone who watched almost every movie leading up to Endgame, from Iron Man to Endgame, so I was a huge fan. We have Disney Plus, and I've watched some of the stuff, but I don't know, this game just never seemed to fulfill the promise that I guess a lot of people had envisioned that it would. Yield, sir, and I'll pose this question to both of you all. So if you own this game already, you will continue to be able to play it. Multiplayer and single player will continue to be a thing. And it's nice that the cosmetic stuff is going free for people who already bought the game. That they're found a way to convert, any credits you have into some kind of in-game stuff. But is it kind of weird that they're going to just all out stop selling the game? Yield, we'll start with you.
I would say yeah. But that whole deal over there with Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix and I think there's something else. That whole thing over there, no, it's not Ubisoft. Anyway.
Yeah, they were part of Square, and Square sold them to Embracer.
Yeah, it's all kind of funky right now, and weird. It seems weird things are going on, and it's like it's not surprising, but at the same time, it's surprising. Does that make any sense? Because they promised to support this game forever, and then now all of a sudden, we're done. So ever since they started splitting the company up and going here and there, it's just. Yeah, weird things are going on.
And like I said, like the content is there. If it's still playable, why not let more people buy it? They just understand that there's not going to be more support for the game. There's not going to be more balance patches. There are going to be no more characters added. Veronica, do you see that as weird? And can you think of another situation where you could still play the game? I mean, yeah, stuff gets delisted after a while. Like stuff on the PlayStation 3 is delisted, but you can still play it. But we're talking about a game playable on, the last 2 generations of consoles. Can you think of another game where they're like, hey, we're going to stop supporting this and you can no longer buy it?
I know that there were a few that popped up on Steam with it. And I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of them. But it's such a rarity but it kind of also, like Yield said, it's the trend of whatever's going on with Crystal Dynamics. But it's also a little worrying in my head about what these studios are thinking are the future of gameplay. So if you think about it that way, it's like, all right, they're not going to support this. They're not going to do anything with it. There's not going to be an online. There's no new things. Fuck it.
And it's weird to me because, again, I would think that the content's there and it's still playable. Wouldn't you want to recoup more of your money to,
right.
By having more people buy into it, because people could still, I guess, because, I mean, if the content's there, just make the money off it. But I don't know what's going on with that. That's a little weird to me. But it's kind of, given everything going on with Embracer and the fact that Crystal Dynamics is part of a new company, who knows? Maybe Embracer just has a different vision, and the things that Crystal Dynamics are going to do, they're looking to the future and not wanting to deal with any of that. I can't explain it. But yeah, it's a shame that game, especially from Crystal Dynamics, proven developer, they do good stuff. It's a shame that game never hit quite like it should have. But if nothing else, we can at least say that the Marvel's Avengers was not nearly disastrous as what's going on at Ubisoft right now. So Veronica, we talked about this with Matt last week, and now you get to join too the conversation with the small house fire that's going on at Ubisoft. This article was written by Carson Burton over on IGN.com. Report: Ubisoft CEO apologizes to employees over ball in your court comments. Quote, Ubisoft is facing turbulent times financially and in-house, and CEO Yves Guillemot was forced to reckon with recent comments he made shifting the blame to the staff. After canceling 3 unannounced games and delaying the release of Skull and Bones for a 6th time, Guillemot told employees the ball is in your court to help get the $3 billion company back on track. I'm going to stop there because at some point I thought when people were talking about Ubisoft possibly being bought, up in the firestorm of Sony bought Bungie, Microsoft bought Activision, is Sony, who's going to buy Ubisoft? I thought Ubisoft was like $6 billion, but now they're $3 billion. That seems like a low valuation for that company. But maybe that's just me. Back to the article, quote, the changes at Ubisoft were scrapped up to a major challenges in the industry, the underperformance of Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, this is me talking here, not the article, which is weird because Mario games usually always sell well. Back to the article. And Just Dance 2023 and an upcoming restructuring for the publisher. On Wednesday, a new report from Kotaku revealed that Ubisoft had a company-wide Q&A to address the news of restructuring. There, the CEO apologized for his previous comments. This is a quote from Guillemot. I heard your feedback, and I'm sorry that this was perceived that way, Guillemot said, according to sources present. When saying the ball is in your court to deliver our lineup on time and at the expected level of quality, I wanted to convey the idea that more than ever, I need your talent and energy to make it happened. This is a collective journey that starts, of course, with myself and the leadership team to create conditions for all of us to succeed together. End quote. And if that wasn't bad enough, quote, according to Kotaku's report, some developers within the company still feel management is out of touch with the lower level staff. The Q&A, which lasted an hour, also did not address the recent call for the strike at the company's Paris studio. Solidaires Informatique, Ubisoft's Paris Tech Union, asked the companies to go on strike in response to Guillemot's previous comments. The strike will reportedly last half a day on January 27th. Ubisoft's particularly poor 2022 included no marquee blockbuster releases. Several projects were delayed, trapped in development hell, or simply failed to find a substantial audience. So Yves Guillemot puts his foot in his mouth, and maybe his comments were perceived the wrong way, but when it comes to, when you're addressing an entire company of people, when you're putting stuff out there, you have to think before you send an email or you put something in a press release or you say something at a Q&A, you have to understand or fully aware of how any of your comments can be perceived. So whether or not he meant it a certain way, obviously they were taken that way by a lot of people, and he probably should have thought about that before he said it. And Ubisoft as a company, just as a whole, seems like they need some new guidance. It seems like they're not only out of touch with their lower level, teams or the development teams, but also with, the marketplace in general and the people who buy games. So We've gotten Matt's opinions on kind of what's going on at Ubisoft. Veronica, I don't know how much you guys talk about video game news at home, but what are your thoughts on all of this? And Gaumont walking back his previous or his clarification of his previous statements, but also Ubisoft in general and the games that they're putting out.
I think it's like the idea where you think you're good, but you're not good. Like that higher tier stuff where you sit there and you're like, oh, okay, like we're Ubisoft. We can do nothing wrong. And then all of a sudden things go wrong. And we tend to do our video game news like separately. And then we kind of come together, hey, did you hear about XYZ? We don't really talk about it outside of that, but we find it interesting with this one that you would think a company as big as Ubisoft, as big as they are, even though the games that they have put out have not been the greatest recently, wouldn't say something to the degree that they said it. You're coming off of a huge backlash on other big companies for the same crap. I mean, look at Blizzard. And if we just go into that whole debacle of what they did to their developers and what they did to women in the company in general, right? You would think a CEO of a company that has seen something so big go down for stuff that went on behind the scenes to put something out on stage like, all right, people, buck up. It's your fault that this is shitty like this. If that's not what he meant to say, like, what? And I would pose this to you, like, I would pose this question to you guys, like, what he had said, the ball is in your court. Like, what other way other than it's your fault, not mine? Or it's the developer's fault, not the upper management? What other way could that have been perceived?
I honestly am not sure because, hey, like, I mean, he is essentially, you look at a football team, we talked about the NFL playoffs earlier, the quarterback, a lot of times, or the head coach takes the blame because they are seen as leaders of the company. Gaumont, as a CEO, is definitely the leader of the company. So, in a way, whether he meant to or not, that comment kind of shows that he's taking the blame off himself and placing it on the people making the games. And what makes this worse is I think that this was in an email that he sent out. And the fact that you couldn't type out this email, read it, and be like, you know what, this probably doesn't sound right, dude. Like, don't just send it out there. Don't just fling it out there. Like, read it and actually think about what it means. Obviously a blunder, and I think that Ubisoft has kind of gotten a lot of good grace from gamers in the fact that, you know, Activision gets a lot of hate, deserved. EA gets a lot of hate, deserved, and especially we'll see how they do with Dead Space, the remake coming out this week, and how much hate they get from me from that, or love, if the game is fantastic, which I'm hoping it is. But Ubisoft has kind of managed to, and despite the fact that they've had issues in the past at their own company with, I believe, like sexual harassment and, you know, stuff like that, you know, they haven't been free of controversy, but they've also escaped a lot of the scrutiny that Activision and EA have come under, but now it seems like it's hitting them hard. And I don't know if it's just that it cycles around and it hits game companies at different times, but it seems like now that there's really a lot of people watching Ubisoft, and not that they're necessarily the evil empire, but it's just like, Ubisoft, you got to step your game up, and, you know, people are less like, oh, you know, bleep EA, and more like, okay, Ubisoft, now our eyes are on you. You are now seen as not a big bad, but just like you are seen in a very negative light that you normally are not in that position. Yield, your take on this? Like, someone sends this email out to you at work. What are your thoughts? Like a higher level, the owner of the company
sends that email out to me. You're the head of the ship, buddy. We're down here in the trenches. The ball's not in my court. You're the one that dropped it. is my response. So yeah, that just sounds like damage control to me. I mean, it sounds like to me he was deflecting. Well, the ball's in your court. I did what I could do up here at the top. It goes back. This makes me go back to when, I forget how long ago it was. It was a few months ago, and I can't remember who was on the show. But we were sitting around here talking about Ubisoft, kind of poking fun at them, and we were, I don't know if it was before the show or something, but we're chit-chatting. And we're talking about, like, what games does Ubisoft make? Because we couldn't really think of any right off the top of our head. And someone pulled it up and started reading down the list, and I was like, doggone, man, I own a lot of those games. I'm like, and there was a stretch, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago where Ubisoft made a lot of games where I'm like, man, I want to play that. And I have them, and I'm playing them. I'm playing through the DLC for Immortals Phoenix Rising, which is a good game.
And Matt loves that game.
Well, I'm kind of confused because they do make good games. The Ghost Recon Wildlands was really good. Breakpoint had troubles, but I've heard people who stuck around with it that they fixed it. Immortals Phoenix Rising is really good. The Assassin's Creed games were good. I think people kind of got tired of them at the end. And it's just, I'm trying to think of, where did the company go wrong? Did they have too many irons in the fire? Because, at least from me, my gaming standpoint, they make games that I like to play. Now, this Skull and Bones, Duke Nukem Forever developmental hell isn't really helping matters any. But I'm just kind of confused of where everything went wrong. And then the CEO telling the employees that the ball's in your court to get $3 billion back on track. That's, their job is to make good games. Your job is to sell them or to greenlight good ones and not greenlight too many. So
if we were going
to me, this looks like it looks kind of mismanagement. Just like when Crystal Dynamics came out and said the Tomb Raider reboot was a fail. And that just flabbergasted, like, the gaming community.
Yeah, and so with Ubisoft, I think, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but it comes across as their problems are twofold, in that, one, their over-reliance on sequels and not really putting out anything new of note in the last few years. Like, I think Matt made a point on last week's show that 25% of their games or something like that on their release schedule were Assassin's Creed. So
correct.
That's a lot. And not only that, but it's just poor management of your projects. So not only do you have at the latest call 3 unannounced games scrapped, several delays, and you have games that, and this is like the second news we've heard of this, so they've scrapped more games in the past year. I can't remember how many, but they've scrapped multiple times in the past year.
Yeah, they scrapped a few at the end of 2022.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, so they've scrapped multiple times in the last year. They have scrapped 3 projects. Well, maybe not 3, but they've scrapped, made announcements twice about scrapping games and delaying games. So it's not just like projects like Skull and Bones and Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Good and Evil 2.
Those are games that you just look at all the games that have been canceled, all the unannounced games, that we're not getting, all of the delays, and then those 2 particular games in Skull and Bones and Beyond Good and Evil, and just like, what is the management at this company like? Because I don't know if it's Guillemot himself or the people under him or what needs to happen, the studio heads, but how you don't have Skull and Bones out by now after the amount of money that you poured into that game, and the same for Beyond Good and Evil 2. You have had so much time to get that game out, and the fact that it's still sitting in queue is ridiculous, and we don't have any serious release date for it.
We don't have anything on it other than that really awesome announce trailer that, hey, we're working on it.
Correct. And that was at the Game Awards.
So,
I mean, because I never played the first one, and I saw that game trailer, and I'm like, sign me up.
Thank you.
I want that game. You know, I was the same thing with Skull and Bones. I was like, sign me up. I want that game. There is no way. I'm going to say this now. There is no way, and I'll be glad if I'm wrong, that Skull and Bones is going to make up make the money that it cost them to develop it.
No.
As long as it's been delayed, it's not. It's going to be a failure in the eyes of, you know, what it cost to develop and what they made. I'm saying it right now. And I'm probably going to buy it because I like pirate games. So, but still.
I think the issue comes into play, and this is something that you just said in this, they're extremely reliant on their quote-unquote blockbuster games. So anything that has to deal with the Assassin's Creed series. So you have all of these Assassin's Creed XYZ, like climbing Pyramid 3.0. Well, what developers did you pull off of Beyond Good and Evil 2 or Skull and Bones so that you can make a game that's only been out a year a sequel? Like, where is that? What's happening with that team? Or are you pulling off writers and coders and artists from your newer projects or your newer IPs because you're too scared to put those IPs out, and you're going to switch them over to something that you think is still a good, like, cash out?
Yeah, I mean, well, not only that, but when you have, there's a lot of flux within Assassin's Creed because obviously they started to go more open world with it, started with Origins and Odyssey and then Valhalla, and they've had a lot of success with that. And then they made an announcement that they were going to go with a multi-pronged approach when it comes to Assassin's Creed. So Mirage is supposed to be coming out this year. It's part of the big, PlayStation advertising, big push of, hey, look at these games you're coming out on your PlayStation 5 this year. But even within their biggest franchise or one of their biggest franchises, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. So with Ubisoft, I hope they succeed because they make good games. Even if I don't buy all their games or that many of their games, I want to see them succeed because I think they do make very good games. But they've got to figure out what their big problem is. First of all, don't send emails like that. But also, with your game lineup, it's okay to have long-standing franchises. I will still buy a Ratchet & Clank game when it comes out because no matter how old that franchise is, I still love playing that franchise. So it's okay to have games like that and series like that. But you also have to have newer stuff too.
I will defend the Ratchet & Clank series in the fact that they didn't, and to use the pun correctly, they didn't Assassin's Creed it, where they had two different developers pumping out a game every other year, to where you had an Assassin's Creed game every year.
Correct. I feel like Assassin's Creed is coming more like Call of Duty or those types of games. Yeah, Battlefield. Thank you. I don't play them if you can't tell.
No, don't feel bad. I don't either, but I know what you were getting to.
But or a Madden or an NCAA or whatever. Your Assassin's Creeds are coming out like that. I will do the same thing with a Ratchet and Clank. It's one of those, not as bad as Kingdom Hearts, but not as Assassin's Creedy as Assassin's Creed, where it was the right amount of time between the games. But when you promise something, especially to gamers where I did play Beyond Good and Evil, right? You're now not Kingdom Hearting this shit. You're just doing something else to it. And I don't know if it is... I mean, if we take something that's not gaming related, but it links up to the gaming, anything that's happening in the world of economics right now and technology and inflation. Right? Can they not upgrade their technology to create these games that they thought that they could by this time? Or are they unable to hire people at the prices that they used to hire people? And they're stuck now with with people that are basically unable to create the game.
Well, I mean, when you don't have, as the article said, when you don't have a marquee release in 2022 for an entire year,
Right.
and you delay things, and when people start to wonder if it'd be better just to scrap Skull and Bones altogether, you've got an issue. So management's a problem. I mean, they need to manage their projects a lot better because obviously there's quality there, but whatever they're making obviously is taking longer to put out than they expected. So their projections, they got to do something. I'm not saying, obviously I'm not a part of the company, so I can only speculate so much, but it seems like project management is probably the largest area of responsibility that they need to shore up coming up here within this next year. So Mirage will be out this year, and we'll see what turns they take with Assassin's Creed after that. But I mean, if Mirage isn't a big hit, then you got to wonder what Ubisoft has to cancel next. Where do they turn next, and what does that mean for Assassin's Creed? Do they have to then cancel one of the Assassin's Creed games they were planning? It's a mess. Do we ever get an Immortals Phoenix Rising sequel? I think Tricky brought that up on last week's show. You know, with all these struggles, like very positive response to Immortals Phoenix Rising. Matt, Tricky, and Yield have all really enjoyed that game.
Oh yeah, you would love it, Alex. I'm not.
You would absolutely. I always want to use Matt's gamer tag when I'm talking, because when I do my streams, I use his gamer tag. So when I'm having these conversations with you talking about games, I just want to say Ender.
Well, from now on, we know. So if you want to use it, go ahead.
So Ender is part of his gamer name. And I just sit there and I go, I enjoyed watching him playing that game, and you would love it.
I mean, and besides, like I said, besides just the story, the combat was actually really fun. It never seemed overly.
Correct.
The times that I would die or do something bad, it was because I did something bad. It's not like it was because it was too hard. It was the right amount of hard, but it was because I did something bad. So it's like Ubisoft makes certain games that are really good. Like I said, Immortals. I mean, the Division still, people love the Division. I enjoyed the first game. I haven't delved into the second. But they make Ghost Recon Wildlands was really good. So they got these games that they make, and then they either oversaturate them with sequels, or the games that are really good, like Immortals, it's like they don't embrace it enough. I felt Sony pushed Immortals more than Ubisoft did. So I don't know. I think I kind of agree with Alex. The team's there. They've shown that they can put out good stuff. I think they need to manage the company better. And I think maybe up front needs to wake up instead of just, they've gotten so big and they were on cloud nine with this Assassin's Creed high that they need to, make more individual or solo games. And they just kind of need a company restructure is really not the word I want to use. Maybe they need a management restructure. Because the company's there, you've got the catalog. You can see they've got good games. And they've got franchises where they could still reinvent those games. They got, why am I drawing a blank? Sam Fisher.
Splinter Cell?
Splinter Cell,
thank you. So, I mean, they've got a catalog. It's there. It's just, I think people have kind of lost. Maybe they're chasing dollar signs. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Ubisoft's not going to be a quick fix, but clearly there is I think the public embarrassment that they have sustained over the past 6 months, and especially with this second round of, hey, we're delaying this, hey, we're canceling, and just the joke that has become Skull and Bones.
Hey, you're going to have Skull and Bones by the end of the year. Oh, hey, we're going to push it till the first of next year. Oh, hey, it's going to be the first quarter of next year.
I think that Ubisoft has suffered enough public embarrassment where we may see some change there. I'm not saying that Yves Guillemot is going to no longer be CEO, but for them to be continued,
some heads need to roll.
For them to be continued to be successful, there needs to be some changes at that company. And I like I said, I think there's been enough public turmoil where people, because infighting in a company, a lot of times we don't see that publicly, but we've seen it publicly now. And I would assume that they recognize, all right, this is out in the public and we are a big game company. We need to get our stuff together. So
otherwise you're going to turn into Activision.
Or Blizzard.
Or a Blizzard, yeah. You don't want to do that.
Yeah. No, people are definitely not happy with Ubisoft right now, just like some people are not very happy with multiplayer trophies on the PlayStation console. This comes from PlayStationLifestyle.net. PS4 and PS5 trophy hunters now petitioning for removal of multiplayer trophies from the Platinum. Quote, some PlayStation players... Oh, and this is from Zarmina Khan, the author. Quote, some PlayStation players are now petitioning for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 trophies to drop multiplayer requirement for the Platinum Trophy in some games. Last month, a popular Reddit thread highlighted the plight of dedicated trophy hunters who have been pointing out examples of single-player games with tacked-on multiplayer trophies that often end up locking them out of the coveted Platinum. Now they're demanding action. Server closures impacting trophies aside, players say that multiplayer trophies in the game that are primary single-player are a bad idea because they are essentially paywalled. With PlayStation Plus being a requirement for multiplayer, those who want to platinum single-player games are stuck having to purchase a subscription should they require playing online for every single game. Quote, of course, multiplayer games like Call of Duty and Battlefield will always have multiplayer trophies, reads the change.org petition that they got via Reddit. That'll probably go nowhere. However, in games that are mostly offline-oriented, like The Last of Us or Uncharted 4, multiplayer trophies should exist in parallel way where they don't affect the Platinum Trophy. I hate to say it, Sony's unlikely to see the petition, but the effort to get its attention is commendable. So, essentially what the change.org petition is saying is, you can still have multiplayer trophies, just make them separate like DLC, that they're not required to earn those or unlock those trophies for the Platinum Trophy. And a big point that they make is that by requiring PlayStation Plus, you are essentially requiring people to pay money if they're primarily, single-player game players. So if you just play like BioShock or something like that, hey, they argue that I shouldn't have to pay for multiplayer trophies because I just want to play single-player stuff. I don't want to play online. How do you all feel about... I mean, Veronica, obviously you're not as big into trophies as we are, but do you see a point to this, and that do you really think it's that big of a deal to where people are saying that, well, I shouldn't have to pay for, the online services if I just want to play single-player games to get the Platinum Trophy? Is it really that big of a deal?
For me, yes. And I think it's one of the reasons why I'm not a trophy hunter. My game base is single-player offline games. Why would, if I wanted to get I don't even know, and you can kill me in the comments with this. Like, I don't know if there's a platinum trophy that I can get for Kingdom Hearts. Right? But if you're telling me that I have to do the Gummy Ship online battles to get that platinum trophy when that's not something that I want to do, because it's a single-player game, I don't want to go online and fight somebody for a story-driven game.
Yield, sir, how do you feel about this as someone who is big into the PlayStation trophies? And, well, you have PlayStation Plus. I personally think that anyone who has a PlayStation, if you can afford it, you should have PlayStation Plus, because I think there's a lot of great value in PlayStation Plus. Not everybody may feel that way. And to be honest, I don't play online all that much with anybody. I mean, I enjoy playing, Rocket League with friends, and I'm sure that at some point there'll be another multiplayer game that I enjoy playing in a group with, but I don't use multiplayer that much. But I still think PlayStation Plus is worth it. Are multiplayer trophies and lost platinums or having to pay for PlayStation Plus, does that really bug you all that much? And do you see any kind of credence to this argument?
So we've discussed this before on the show in a roundabout way. I agree and disagree with the petition because, some multiplayer trophies, like they mentioned Uncharted 4, their multiplayer trophies had always been just, hey, try this out. 4 was a little bit more involved, but not much more involved. Whereas The Last of Us, you had to devote a huge chunk of time, which is why I never got the platinum for it. And at the time, my internet was not cooperative with that multiplayer game. So, I see what they're saying, and as a trophy hunter or a trophy whore, depending on what side of the spectrum you stand on, I agree with the fact that there are sometimes some unnecessary multiplayer trophies. We've talked about how, we don't, that they shoehorn in a multiplayer aspect, and then they kind of split their trophy list to half multiplayer, half single player, but you could tell that the majority of their game was single player focused. I will point to the Tomb Raider reboot as one of those games, whereas I can give them credit for their multiplayer, where I can see where they had some good ideas. It just wasn't implemented well. But to get that platinum, you had to suffer through it. We've talked about that. If when the time comes to close the server down, then you should. It would be nice. I shouldn't say you should. It would be nice if you did an update that would still allow you to get the platinum, but you just, like you said, now you move the multiplayer trophies to maybe a DLC. You're not going to get the 100%, but you can still get the platinum. And those of you who got the platinum before this update were to happen, well, it doesn't affect you. You can have that, little flag that says, look, I did it before, everything got moved to DLC. So I guess it's nice that they're making a petition. Sony isn't going to step in that. They're just going to let, Sony has said, hey, we need trophies. It's up to you whether you want a platinum or not. And it's up to you how you want to do the list. You just got to have trophies for our games. So I don't ever think that they're going to throw down a law that says, single player game only trophies unless you're, an online only game. I don't ever see that happening. But like I said, those of us that go for these kind of trophies, it would be nice that when you close the servers, you'd still make the platinum available. But I don't think that'll happen either, because at that point, when you're pulling the plug, you've devoted everybody to other projects. There's nobody around to code that. So,
yeah,
I hope I answered your question.
I think that I agree with you that PlayStation Platinum should always be attainable. If you're selling trophies as a selling point to get people to buy games, and let's be honest, people buy certain games because of trophies, and I'm not just talking about spam. Like, some people will buy a certain game that they never would have played before because of the trophies. Like, oh, I can get an easy platinum and still enjoy this game. Or, they something's free for PlayStation Plus and has like a platinum trophy that someone can attain. It's like, okay, yeah, I'll play that. So it's a selling point. So to me, the PlayStation trophy or the platinum trophy should always be attainable. If servers are shut down, like you said, make sure to, if you can, take any multiplayer trophies or anything like that out of it. And again, this isn't just a Sony issue. It's Sony allows the developers, there's a lot of third-party developers involved in trophies. Like, every game has to have a trophy, so it's not just Sony first-party games. So it's kind of up to everyone how they implement this stuff into games. So it's not just Sony's call. They can't necessarily mandate that, and I can understand why they wouldn't want to be like that heavy-handed when it comes to how different teams and different developers handle their trophies. But I do agree platinum should always be attainable. Multiplayer trophies are incredibly annoying, and I understand that PlayStation Plus is an extra cost. So I don't earn money for anybody, and I don't tell anybody how to spend their money, or at least I try not to get up on a soapbox very often. To me, it's not a massive deal. It's just a trophy. It's not a necessity. You don't need trophies to play games. They are a selling point. So yes, Sony is making money off them. All these game companies are making money off them. So I can understand. Believe me, I like to get 100% of my trophy list just like everybody else. One of my goals this year is to get up to 88% completion of all my trophies. So I get it. I understand. Is it something, vital, integral to the video game system that we have this split? no, I generally believe let the game making and the trophies and all that kind of stuff be left to the developer. If I can't get a platinum trophy, bummer, or I can't get 100%, bummer, but it's fine. I'll survive. So, I mean, obviously change is there for stuff like this. I would, hope that, there's a more focus on more important social issues than trophies. Again, this is a hobby we all like to do, and trophies are an important part of that. So, again, I get it. So, while I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world, if somebody else wants to make this petition and they can get enough eyes on it, and it makes people consider things, and Sony says, well, maybe for our first-party games, this, or maybe if developers start moving away from the multiplayer trophies, then hey, that's great. Because let's be real, a lot of times stuff like that is tacked on, multiplayer is tacked on. There's some games that are natively just best for multiplayer, but there are a lot of games, especially single-player, like, your Uncharted games and Last of Us and all that kind of stuff.
Ratchet and Clank.
Where, sometimes multiplayer, and I'm not just like picking out Sony games here, but multiplayer can be added just so you don't take the game back to GameStop or you don't resell it right away after you beat it. So it's a way to cushion the playtime of a game to get people to invest more time in it. So I get it. Multiplayer trophies can be annoying. Is it super important? Not really. But if, through feedback from the fans, if Sony can continue to evolve and improve, and Sony and their partners can continue to improve the the trophy process and trophy lists and all that kind of stuff, I'm all for that. Am I going to go sign the petition? No, but again, anybody else who wants to, yeah, it's there. Go ahead and do it. And like I said, it's like game development. All the in-game rewards and achievements that come with those things are constantly evolving to make things better. More, not just easier, but, more challenging, more rewarding. So if we can improve that, I'm always up for suggestions. So, yeah. We're going to get out of here after our last topic here, because we are running pretty long here. But we held off on this from last week, and I definitely think that, it's something we can get through this week, especially with the DICE Awards coming up. So what we'll do now is we're going to go through the nominees for the DICE Awards coming up, the 26th Annual Awards coming up in February. This article comes from IGN, written by Matt Kim. The headline is 26th Annual DICE Awards Game of the Year nominees announced. And again, these will be revealed in February. Quote, the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences, or the AIAS, has announced its nominees for the 26th DICE Awards, with Sony Santa Monica's God of War Ragnarok leading the pack with 12 nominations. The annual Video Game Award recognizes the best games of the year as chosen by members of the AIAS, and the winners are chosen at an annual award show hosted in Las Vegas. This year's event will be hosted on February 23rd on IGN. So we're going to get into the categories now, and Veronica, since it's your first time with us doing something like this, I'm just going to go down the awards list and name the nominees, and if there's something you want to talk about, a game you want to give a little love to, or you say, I can't believe that game didn't make it, or, oh man, that game definitely deserves to win, please stop me, and we can discuss. Otherwise, I'll keep going through, and we'll just plow through the list. Sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The first award is the Outstanding Achievement in Animation, and the nominees are Cuphead, The Delicious Last Course DLC, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Moss Book 2, and Horizon Forbidden West. Next category, Outstanding Achievement in Art Direction, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Didn't think I would see that in an art direction list. God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Stray, and the Callisto Protocol. Outstanding Achievement in Character, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Alejandro Vargas, God of War Ragnarok, Atreus, God of War Ragnarok, Kratos, Horizon Forbidden West, Aloy, and Return to Monkey Island, Guybrush Threepwood. I love...
There's my front runner right there. Mighty Pirate.
Love seeing some love for Guybrush. Outstanding Achievement in Original Music Composition, A Plague Tale Requiem, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Metal Hellsinger, which again, once that was nominated for the Game Awards, we heard a lot about how good that soundtrack is.
It is such a good game.
So soundtrack and game, though, very good.
It both. Matt is a metalhead. 100% a metalhead. And to see him geek out over the music that was made for that game is one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
Was it specifically created for the game, or is it licensed music?
Correct. No. Like, the music is specifically made for the game, but they have, like, lead singers from metal bands actually doing the singing. It's just, like, it's one of those things that Matt, and not just our video game love for each other, like, our video game loves, he got me into music in general. I wasn't a big music person until I met him. And metal happened to be one of the first things that he introduced me to. Our wedding song is Nothing Else Matters by Metallica. So to see his elation when he was playing this game and how he just it was a different look on a video game that I've watched him play than I see him when he's playing his Legend of Zelda or his Horizon Forbidden West. You know, it's just a pure joy that he is playing this game. Like, hard as hell as a game, but there was just a different look to him when he was playing this.
Yeah, that's one of those games that after I heard about it on via the Game Awards, I'm like, I see it in the store, and it's like, is today the day? Is today the day? The other game nominated for that category, which was Outstanding Achievement in Original Music Composition, was Moss Book 2. Next category is Outstanding Achievement in Audio Design. A Plague Tale Requiem, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, God of War Ragnarok, Gotham Knights, and Somerville. Outstanding Achievement in Story, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, I Was a Teenage Exocolonist, Immortality, and Norco. Outstanding Technical Achievement, just Outstanding Technical Achievement. A Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, and Teardown. Action Game of the Year, Bayonetta 3, Grounded, Neon White, Sifu, and Vampire Survivors. So, Veronica, I'll stop here real quick. You guys have a Switch. Have either one of you played Bayonetta 3? Because I played the first two, and I'm very interested in the third one, and I just haven't bit yet.
No. It's just kind of been under the radar, kind of a put on the back burner game because of everything else that's come out.
Yeah, it either seems like in games there's either nothing to play or too much to play.
And that's 100% where I'm at.
In reality, there's probably always too much to play. We just aren't always.
We don't care, and that's the whole thing. Like my brain for this entire November, December, January was Fire Emblem, Fire Emblem, Fire Emblem. Like, that's all my brain did in video games. Like, I had to sit there and think, what game did I want to play for my birthday charity stream? It was just kind of like, do I want to play Persona 5? Like, do I want to play Tales of Vesperia? Like, and I picked up the game that I picked up. So, like, a lot of these action games, like, I've seen the Vampire Survivors, I've seen Grounded, and I've seen play of Bayonetta. Nothing that I'm like, I have to play that.
Bayonetta 3, obviously, is a game that I probably will eventually come back to, because I did enjoy. 1 was good, 2 was even better, and I have heard good things about 3. But, yeah, me too. It's just one I put on the back burner. I was just curious that if you guys had played it yet. No, there's definitely a game in here that Matt has played. Adventure Game of the Year, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Norco, Stray, and the game I was referencing, Tunic. That's
Yeah, I was going to say. So, let's not kid ourselves. God of War Ragnarok's probably going to win most of the awards unless Elden Ring is in the way. I would like to see for Horizon Forbidden West get a few nods here and there. But if you have not seen the trailer for Tunic,
Oh, it's an amazing game.
I am picking this up, especially, and I'm saying this, if one, go look at it anyway because it looks absolutely amazing. Two, I got an absolutely huge Zelda vibe from watching this trailer. So this is on my, I'm going to purchase at sometime this year and play that game because I was like, at first I'm like, oh, this is kind of cute. I'll watch the trailer. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like a furry Zelda. Let's do this.
So I'm going to be a horrible, horrible guest here. It's on Xbox Game Pass.
Okay. So, like, I'm not so married to PlayStation that if somebody can, like, I understand that Game Pass is a great thing, and if somebody can go play a game for free somewhere else, or not free, but for a subscription versus have to pay for it, I mean, I understand
if you have that subscription, then go play it.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to deter you from that. So, I mean, if this were Tricky probably would have, he would have put a hex on you or something.
I know.
No, he'd have got on his Sony high horse.
Yeah. But that's the whole thing. It's just, and this is just me saying this, like, I can do my Xbox Game Pass on my PC.
And with the PlayStation games coming to PC, I mean, PC is, aside from, playing Nintendo games.
Viable, but not right now.
Yeah, a year after they release on the PlayStation, but
Right, but it's kind of like one of my farming games, Coral Island. It's in beta right now. So what did they do? They released it as a beta on the game, like the Game Pass, Xbox Game Pass, for the people that have that membership, like a PlayStation Plus or something like that, to try. I mean, and that's how Ender played Tunic, and it was just so cute to see. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, when you first see Tunic 1, I don't know which thought comes first, but the first two thoughts that came to my head were green tunic, shield, Zelda. Also, super cute.
Exactly.
Super cute. Like, those are the first two things that came to my head. I can't tell you. Oh, and Fox was somewhere in there, but I can't tell you what order those came in. Actually, maybe Zelda, cute, Fox, probably in that regard.
Probably.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But yeah, I mean, that's a game that, honestly, like, God of War right now is going to get its due. I would love to see Horizon Forbidden West win one award. Stray's gotten a lot of love. It won some stuff at the Game Awards, so I would love to see Tunic, like, an upset victory in Adventure of the Game of the Year. God of War Ragnarok's probably going to win it, but I would also, like, because this is mostly industry folk voting for these,
right?
Tunic has a shot.
Yeah.
Family Game of the Year. Disney's Dreamlight Valley, which we've talked about a little earlier. Kirby's Dream Buffet. Lost in Play, Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, and Trombone Champ. Sorry if I sounded a little surprised in that Trombone Champ. I just did not expect to see that game there. Or that a game like that exists. I don't know why I'm surprised. Fighting Game...
I think it's the second part.
Fighting Game of the Year. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R, Multiverses, Rumbleverse, Spider Hack, and King of Fighters 15. Keep in mind...
I hope to God it's Spider Hack.
So, well, I was going to say Multiverses won at the Game of the Awards, but what is Spider Hack?
So Spider Hack is basically... have you ever seen like a human fall flat or something like that? Where it's more of a physics fighting? So that's what Spider Hack is. If you YouTube Spider Hack, so you are spiders that start off with lightsabers.
Whoa, like General Grievous in every arm?
Yeah. and or a single one, and you have to like launch yourself at it's multiplayer, and you launch yourself at each other, trying to kill each other as a spider in a physics-based thing, fighting each other. And then sometimes it's like, all right, well, you have bombs, and you got to figure out how to put the bombs on there, and then you have to shoot your webs so you don't go into the lava. When you get 4 of the closest friends that you have ever had gaming for 15 years playing this game, your wife sits behind you and laughs for 2 hours.
I don't know. I've never heard of this game
It
before.
is
Neither have I. I'm looking it up right
freaking
now.
fantastic.
When she said spiders with lightsabers, I was like, okay, I gotta look this up.
It is amazing. Like, I sit there. There are like 2 or 3 games that Matt and his group of 3 guy friends play that it is just, I have to sit and watch because it is just so hilarious. But if anything is good, I would want Spider Hack to win that.
Well, in these award shows, you have your heavy hitters, you have your AAA games, but also this is a good. I had never heard of a game like Cult of the Lamb, and because of the Game Awards, that's a game that I have almost. It's on the tip of my fingers of purchasing. So this award shows.
I actually was watching the trailer for that, or I don't know if it was a trailer. I was reading about it on the PlayStation Store because I was like, I've heard about this, and I was like, this might be something I might pick up because it just seems weird enough that I would enjoy it.
If you want a good review of it, ask Matt to tell you about it. He absolutely loves that game, Cult of the Lamb.
Yeah, I mean, like these award shows, they are definitely a good way to bring to light some of these smaller games. So, I think we are all voting for. I think I call it Spider Hack. It's Spider Heck.
It's Spider.
I don't know why.
Yeah,
that makes a little more sense.
You can guarantee Tricky won't play it.
Oh.
Yeah, he won't.
But what if there was some Tricky? I'll donate this much money to your Patreon if you play Spider Heck.
No, he will not.
No, he won't. I was watching the trailer. He won't play it.
He won't. It's like I was playing Pokemon, and there is a single Pokemon that is based on a spider.
Is that his name?
I don't remember what it is. But he will not watch me play. He will not come to my stream if I'm playing Pokemon because there's that spider Pokemon that can show up.
I think it's Spidops is the name because I listen to a Pokemon podcast. Haven't bought the game yet, but I do listen to a Pokemon podcast. But I think it's Spidops. But, well, if you ever don't want Tricky hanging around, time to pop on the old Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah. Oh, man. I completely forgot that tonight is Pokemon night.
All right, continuing with the nominees, Racing Game of the Year. Unfortunately, no spiders with lightsabers in this category. F1 22, Gran Turismo 7, and Need for Speed Unbound. Role-playing Game of the Year, Citizen Sleeper, Elden Ring, Weird West, a game that I have recently played and platinumed, World of Warcraft, Dragonflight, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Dragonflight being the newest expansion for WoW. Did you play any of that, Veronica? No.
No. I left World of Warcraft years ago, but just a couple of my friends that are part of my stream team were big World of Warcraft people, and it's this iteration and the whole going back to Classic it didn't make anything enjoyable for the game ever again.
Ugh, you don't like to hear that. Because, I mean, I know how people invest in people getting to WoW, and it's one of those things where when you finally break away, I assume that you're kind of done. You're not
Yeah, and that's really what it is. It's when you get to that point, like, we have friends that still play World of Warcraft daily. But it's both Ender and I got away with it a long time ago. and I just cannot see myself spending X to do Y. Is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, and it's probably not good not to give Blizzard money until they get all their stuff figured out.
Yeah, no.
Sports Game of the Year. EA Sports FIFA 23. Mario Strikers Battle League, a game I wish was much better than it actually is. MLB The Show 2022. NBA 2K23. And Oli Oli World.
Ole, 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 ole.
I was going to say, am I pronouncing it wrong? And they're like, oh, I see what you're doing there.
I have no idea. That's all I can think about since the World Cup was
Well,
this year.
it's nice to see, like,
Or last year.
sports categories are filled up with, like, sports simulation games, but it's nice to see a game like that, which I think is a skateboarding game. It's a very, very different, unique game, so it's no longer just the Mario games that are tossing some variety into the sports world. Strategy/simulation game of the year. Dwarf Fortress. That sounds great. Ixion. Marvel's Midnight Suns, which I still have not played. Potioncraft. Alchemist Simulator. Warhammer 40,000. Chaos Gate. Demon Hunters.
If this is by developers, I'm going to say that Potioncraft is probably going to have a decent chance.
I was going to say that seemed, based on what you told about the mobile game you were talking about earlier, this seems like the game that you would most want to play.
And it is. And Matt plays it. So, and I watch some of our friends on Discord play it too. And it's just like, once again, if I wasn't involved in two pretty specific games at this point that are very simulation heavy, that would be the next one I would be playing.
And I definitely, I do enjoy, I know people have their online personas, but I definitely do enjoy, like, when, like, you saying Matt's name being Ender, because, like, in conversation, people will mention, like, their, like, people's, like, screen names or something like that. I'm like, who the hell is that? So, like, I'm sure at some point that name would have come up, and I've got to, like, do the mental math, and, like, all right, who the hell is that? But now I just know it's Matt.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's one of those things where that group either calls me Swimmer or V, and everybody really knows me as V nowadays. So every so often I hear Swimmer and I go, oh yeah, that's me.
That's my other persona.
That's my persona from middle school, which was very, very long time ago.
And yeah, judging by how most people deal with middle school, probably good it was a long time ago, because middle school is not fun for anybody.
No, it isn't.
Immersive reality game of the year. Cosmonious High, just a step up from middle school. Moss Book 2. Red Matter 2. Tentacular 2. Not 2, just Tentacular. I don't want to ever have to say that game name again. And the last Clockwinder. Outstanding achievement for an independent game. Immortality. Neon White. The game that I really hope wins. Teenage Mutant Turtles Shredder's Revenge. Tunic.
The one I want to
And
win.
Vampire Survivors. I mean, Immortality's gotten a lot of love. And, I mean, Neon White as well. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think outstanding achievement for an independent game, I would say Tunic this is where Tunic is going to have his best chance.
Mm-hmm.
Mobile game of the year. Diablo Immortal. Gibbon, Beyond the Trees. Immortality. Marvel Snap. And Point P. Online game of the year. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. EA Sports FIFA 23. Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker. Marvel Snap. And Rumbleverse. Veronica, what do you think the Final Fantasy? What are the odds that
it's not going to? It's most likely going to be Marvel Snap, and the reason I say that is if you listen to anybody on like an online game, that's going to be it.
And well, I mean, what was it? I can't remember. It was the Game Awards. It was a persistent online game or something like that, or it like Final Fantasy 14 was one of the nominees and it didn't win. But that's an example of a game that has come back from a rough start and has been pretty successful in the aftermath. So it can happen.
It's really and the best way that I could say it is 6 one way, half dozen another. Is the best way that I could really think about it. Is you have a game like the Final Fantasy that was like, all right, this is kind of shit-tastic, right? But then it came back to be, hey, this is pretty good. Where you have Marble Snap, where out of the gate, it was amazing.
And, Marvel, love it or hate it. I mean, it's kind of one of those things that, those names that you immediately recognize, so.
I have Marvel fatigue.
Yeah, I do as well. I don't think Yield ever really started all that hot and heavy with Marvel, right, Yield?
I'm way behind on my movies. I was current up to a certain point. I enjoy them, and I want to see out through Endgame at least. And there's a few things on Disney Plus that I'm intrigued to see, but I'm not going to watch those until I finish through Endgame. But I guess I would say I'm superhero fatigued in the sense of ever since they've moved on to, what is it now, Phase 4? There have only been a couple of movies that they've kind of rolled out that I've been kind of like, oh, that doesn't look too bad. But it's not high on my list of, ooh, I gotta watch it.
And that's what it is. And that's why I'm kind of surprised that Marvel Snap did as well as it did. But I think it's also one of those games where it was just the right amount of Marvel-ness, is the best way to put it.
And to be...
For that. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, sorry to interrupt you there, Veronica. I was going to say that it's just kind of like, I think that people are kind of worn out on the Marvel TV shows and the movies, but the video game may be a space where that's still not completely tapped yet, especially on the mobile market, because, home consoles, you're at home or on the PC, you're playing for long hours. Mobile is just like, you stop and play it for short bits, maybe once a day and you're done. So that may be a more appetizing place for people to consume their superhero games as of right now. As opposed to trying to watch something from DC and Marvel, where it's just like, oh, no more.
Right.
No moss, as Yield like to say.
No moss!
Outstanding achievement in game design. Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Marvel Snap, Tunic, and Vampire Survivors. Outstanding achievement in game direction. Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Immortality, and Tunic. Vampire Survivors and Tunic have to win something on this list. I mean, they're just... I feel like I'm saying that name not necessarily as much as God of War Ragnarok, but certainly as much as Horizon Forbidden West.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, Game of the Year. 5 nominees, those being Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Stray, and Vampire Survivors. And reminder, check out the winners when the 26 DICE Awards are live streamed from Las Vegas and IGN on February 23rd, 2023. All right, so sometimes we'll go through the awards and kind of just pick out our winners. I think we're running long, so I think we'll stray from that. But I do want to ask you all, who do you think is going to win Game of the Year of those 5 games, obviously?
My guess would be a toss-up between Elden Ring and Ragnarok.
Veronica?
I have to agree. It's as much as I would have loved it to be Stray, I just think that the way that the two of it, like, especially Elden Ring, how well that did, and how it is a absolutely stunning game. But yeah, it's just it's either going to be Elden Ring or God of War.
And this is more hopeful than anything because I fully expect God of War to win. Well, actually, I expect Elden Ring to win this because Elden Ring won the Game Awards Game of the Year, and it's just one of those games that, you know, has seemed to be the game to beat since it came out. But my hope, I'm just gonna say, I know this isn't gonna happen, but Horizon Forbidden West. I'm gonna say that I want Horizon Forbidden.
That's what
I want Horizon Forbidden West to win. I don't think I'm not doing this for accuracy. It's just I don't want to say anything else because I said Elden Ring for Game Awards. I was right, and I kind of want to be right again. So I'm gonna try to will Horizon Forbidden West to a victory, even though I know it's probably Elden Ring. But yeah, so Elden Ring will probably win, but Horizon Forbidden West is my game that I'm picking because I want to ride that pony to the end because I still say that game, despite all the love it's gotten, is still underrated. So, all right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to bring us to the end of our topics, and I do not think we have any questions this week, which suits us just fine because, well...
Well, actually, there is one.
There's
one?
one.
Okay. Yield, do you have that in front of you, sir?
Time to check my social media, yeah.
I do.
Can I just groan prior to you asking it?
Yes.
Okay.
So, Matt would like to know, what's more sad, using sandwich bread when making a hot dog or using a hot dog bun to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
I already know my answer.
Well, yeah, we figured that. So, I've never used a hot dog bun to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I have, however, used a piece of bread for a hot dog because I was out of hot dog buns and wanted a hot dog. So I guess if I desperately wanted a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and all I had in the house was hot dog buns and no hot dogs for them, I would use a hot dog bun for peanut butter and jelly.
So I assume that this question comes up because this has been a discussion between Veronica and Matt. Right, Veronica?
No, it hasn't. But the fact that it's a question that he asked does not surprise me.
Oh, so this isn't something pulled from you all and something you all... Okay.
No.
So, because I think that I would go with I would rather use a hot dog bun for peanut butter and jelly because if you put the peanut butter and jelly, it's bread. I mean, it's a different orientation of bread. I get that, but while not its intended use, I feel like putting peanut butter and jelly there is more practical than trying to eat a hot dog in between sandwich buns. I mean, yeah, you can kind of roll them up like a wrap, but it's like the hot dog rolls and the two pieces of bread aren't going to do, unless you just mash the bread together, it's not going to do a great job of keeping it in place. So I see the hot dog bun as more practical for peanut butter and jelly than slices of bread for a hot dog. That makes any sense? If you got to do both, do both. If you're out of hot dog buns and you got to use bread, by God, do it. Or just do one piece of bread and roll it up. But in that situation, if I was given a situation of what I think would be more practical or better, I'd say the hot dog bun for the peanut butter and jelly. Veronica, I assume we should ask you last what you would do since your hubby is the one who proposed the question.
Yes, the hubby proposed which is more sad of the two. I have to be the opposite of you, where I believe that the hot dog for peanut butter and jelly is more sad than the sandwich for a hot dog. And I think this is specifically because the thickness of the hot dog bun would not make it enjoyable to eat. Just like you said that you could wrap it up and flatten the bread for the hot dog, you could do the same for the peanut butter and jelly, but I just feel like the thickness and the way that a hot dog bun is, I just... no.
There is something that's too much bread with something.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. And does he have random thoughts like that all the time? Does he
Yes.
like, is this just like all right, well, how can I flummox them the most with the weirdest question?
a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Sometimes his questions do come from our conversations. 90% of the time, they are my weird questions. However, this one was all him. And we will actually sit down and we will be doing something, and then one of us will just say a random thing. And it turns into questions that you guys ask during your podcasts.
Well, we'll have to be on the lookout for those and see. Did this come from Matt and V? Huh, I have to wonder. All right, well, Matt, thank you for your question. I think we had you all do a little soul searching to come up with an answer for that one. But yeah, we are at almost 2.5 hours, and we have taken up a lot of your time, Veronica. So how about we get out of here and all enjoy the rest of our nights, however we decide to do that. We'll go ahead and do shout-outs. Veronica, we will start with you.
Well, I wanted to thank Tricky for actually thinking I was the correct person in this couple to come over today instead of my husband. I would like to thank Alex and Yield. Thank you guys so much for accepting me and making me feel extremely welcome during the podcast. I would like to shout out Kalai as well for introducing me to this great family of gamers and trophy hunters that even if I am not a trophy hunter, that I can have conversations with you guys like this. And last but not least, my husband, Matt G. I love you, and you're awesome.
Yield, sir, your shout-outs?
Shout out to Veronica for coming and hanging out and talking Vigia games with us tonight. Shout out to Alex for showing up for recording. Someone had to work. Because he's gonna pick on me for missing next week because I'll be watching the football game.
I'll take your place. It's fine.
You can if you would like. Sure. There you go, Tricky. I already got a replacement.
I think we should have
you found
Matt
your
and
replacement.
Veronica on next week. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, there you go. Shout out to Nitro and the Brain 76 for hanging out Saturday and playing some Deep Rock Galactic. Condolences to my brother's PlayStation 4. Homer gets us PlayStation 4. It seemed to have bit the dust at the moment. So he is now back gaming on his 3. Shout out to my Bengals, who are going to, hopefully, this time next week, be whooping them Chiefs. And shout out to all the pimps and the mountains of the whoredom. Thank you for hanging out, downloading, listening, hanging out with us. And yeah, that's it this week.
We'll give a shout out to the community, the fans, the fuel to the fire of this Trophy Horse. Thank you all for pushing us to this momentous episode. Well, at this point, every episode feels momentous because, how do we do anything this long? But episode 556 would not be possible without you all. So thank you all very much. Give a shout out to Tricky, even though he's at work doing no work at all and probably playing PlayStation. Give a shout out to Yield. As always, glad his Bengals won and they're moving on. And hopefully they can, after the heartbreak of last year, they can go back and rectify what happened to them in the Super Bowl last year. And a big shout out to Veronica for coming on for a pretty great debut, I will have to say. Wolf-Eye's debut of Weird West was a fantastic game, and I say that you equally showed up as well in your debut here on Trophy Horse. So thank you very much for coming on and helping us out in our need for a third seat.
Thank you, and you're welcome.
And if you want to come back next week and we can get Matt on too, I think that us with Tricky could do a great episode, but
I let me check my shared calendar with the husband. Nothing is on the calendar as of right now.
So I'm booking both of you all for next week.
So. Oh, snap.
Oh, snap.
We'll see how much shit Tricky wants to talk, and if, any spiders show up in the background of a certain video feed.
I have been told that I would no longer be a human friend of Tricky's if I ever.
He's threatened you with a good time, Veronica.
Oh,
I mean,
I know he has.
Whatever. I've sent him text with a spider picture on it, and he still talks to me.
Yeah, I told him about I like Lucas the Spider on YouTube, And he says that if I actually bring that onto a podcast where he can see my video, he will immediately kick me out and no longer talk to me.
Pros and cons to that, I'll say pros and cons. I'm not going to say if there are more pros than cons, but yeah. No, you...
But he's just saying.
No, but yeah, we look forward to, because we've had Matt on separately, and it'll be nice to have you both on. So yeah, hopefully we can have you guys both on next week, barring anything happening. But yeah, that is going to bring us to the end of episode 556 here of Trophy Whores. We thank you all for joining us. Thank you to Veronica for coming on a fantastic debut.